spot thunderstorms around Thursday afternoon into Thursday evening. The heaviest will produce some downpours of rain and some lightning, but nothing severe. Partly cloudy skies after those spot storms give way around sunset on Thursday night. 75 and partly cloudy Friday, partly sunny, warm and humid. Again, some spot thunderstorms and 93. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Dave Murray on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Sunshine and 91 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, we've got a new crash that they keep calling emergency vehicles out to shut down the highway. Southbound Highway 61 at North Point Prairie. This is north of Wentzville, north of Flint Hill. So we had an earlier crash that was northbound on Highway 61 north of Flint Hill. I think that one got cleared out of the way. And then this is a new crash that's southbound in the southbound lanes, but it's impacting northbound drivers as well. That has you backed up in pockets towards south of Flint Hill now on northbound Highway 61. A trooper was driving through the intersection at Wentzville Parkway and commented on the extra volume through that stretch as well. Westbound on 64, you've got your normal pocket of volume west of Lake St. Louis, headed out towards Highway 70. Still dealing with that crash on Highway 70 westbound at Riverview. It's been moved over to the right shoulder in the right lane from the entrance ramp for Riverview, but we've got a new crash that was probably in the backup from that earlier crash, 70 westbound at Union. The left two lanes are blocked there. Working with the crash in the Metro East, eastbound Highway 64 just past Route 4. It is currently closed due to that crash. You're being diverted around the accident scene on Route 4. Eastbound on Highway 64. Out of the city, you've got a heavy pocket passing Forest Park, westbound 64, southbound 170, your normal heavy pocket. Starting at the Parkway, that left lane is pretty heavy, making your way south towards Highway 64 and ramping on to eastbound Highway 64. Westbound Highway 70, not bad this afternoon, making your way through St. Charles County, headed out towards Wentzville. I'm Frank Ladd on the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Brought to you by Duke's Real Mayo.
This is the Duke's Country Song. It's a song about the best mayo. It has a yellow lid, and its full name is Duke's Mayonnaise. Get Duke's Mayo in store. It's got twang.
News, traffic, and the latest on the Redbirds. This is the Redbird Rush Hour on KMOX.
Sponsored by Busey Bank. Building community with Busey Bank. Beyond the game.
All right, welcome into Wednesday on Redbird Rush Hour. Matt Pauley's still on vacation. He'll be back on Friday. Nate Gatter here, Kevin Wheeler with you here. And obviously, conversation continues to shift. We could talk about a lot of different things today, Nate, and I know you will on Sports Open Line tonight with the World Cup match that just wrapped up. And we'll briefly, I do have a brief thought I want to throw at you because I know nothing about soccer. But I think what I'm saying is a universal sports truth. So I'm going to throw that at you in a second, and then we're going to move into Cardinals conversations because this is a Cardinal show. It is Redbird Rush Hour, after all. So we will be talking about what these next 17 days will mean, these next 17 games will mean for the Cardinals. And we were talking, I don't know if you caught it, Nate, but we were talking about it with Scotty Warman earlier on DGS about just like, okay, what will the plan be? Do they know if they're buying or selling? Is it still to be determined? And there's a lot of fun stuff to kind of suss out in there. We'll do that in a minute. But talking about, I want to just see if you think I'm onto something here. With Argentina pulling off the comeback win against England, winning 2-1. So tell me if I get any of this wrong. Because I had it to the back of my head for most of the afternoon, but I would turn back to watch when I could. So England gets a 1-0 lead. I'm not going to say nil. I don't like that. 1-0 lead and goes into a shell, stops attacking, which puts an attacking team on the attack because now they don't have to defend. And you blow the 1-goal lead, lose 2-1, you go home empty-handed, they go to the finals. This is what I tweeted about this because I don't know soccer. I know the basics. I understand the rules, but I don't know strategy very well. I know the big-name players. I don't know anybody below those top-level players. But this, to me, is a universal truth in sports when you're talking about high-level competition between the best teams on the planet. If what you're doing is working, don't change it until you have complete control of the outcome. If what you're doing got you a lead and is putting you in position, keep doing that until it either stops working or you control the outcome completely. Am I crazy?
No, not crazy. I think especially in this scenario because Argentina have so much quality going forward. In
Oh,
their
my
attack.
God,
They
yeah.
have so much individual quality, collective too, but they have so many individuals.
You've got Lionel Messi.
If this were a different scenario, it is more possible in soccer than other sports to put 11 behind the ball and just sit in and say, we can survive 20 minutes, try to break down all of this. Because when you take your shots from distance, there are going to be 22 legs and feet in between you and one set of hands in between you and the back of the net. And we're just going to take our chances on that. And I don't think it's a non-viable strategy, but there are two things. Number one, England scored shortly before the hour mark.
Right.
So we're talking about, with added time, 35 to 40 minutes that England were going to try to sit in for this.
Yeah.
Secondly, you're dealing with the kind of team that if you're playing a team without so many individual stars who are going to beat you with a single act of brilliance and instead are going to, as we would say in soccer, kind of tiki-taka their way through you, maybe it's more effective again because you're thinking about a team that's going to need to complete 6, 7, 8 passes quickly on the ground and to break you down. Argentina don't need to do that. They can, but they don't need to, as evidenced by the fact that ultimately when they get the goal, it's a wonder strike from Enzo Fernandez from probably close to 25 yards away from goal.
Right.
And then when they get the winner, it's 1, 2, 3 balls being swung in from the same side. Even when they had their chances right before the hydration break, and Pickford made the great save on Romero's header, it's Messi swinging in a corner. They only get it half cleared. Messi sends in another ball. If you give them enough opportunities, somebody's going to hit the perfect pass, and you're going to be broken down in one move. And to me, that's where it was short-sighted, because you just can't give players of that quality that much time and that many opportunities on the ball, because you can't, even with 11 players behind the ball, you can't take up every inch of space on the field, and they just don't need that much space. If you're going to, maybe you succeed in saying, we've reduced the chances that this cross ends in a goal from 4% to 2%. But if you tripled the number of crosses, you've increased the aggregate chance that they score.
Yeah.
And so, especially because with the nature of the sport, if England are able to get out on a counter, because let's say when it gets to 75 minutes, 80 minutes, 85 minutes, Argentina are devoting more and more and more resources forward, leaving themselves more and more exposed at the back. And if England score a second goal, the game is over. There is no path back at that point. Granted, Argentina found a path back from 2 goals down, scoring twice at the very end against Egypt, but that's different. Egypt's a different
level of team
to England.
Yeah.
And so to me, considering the quality Argentina have and how dangerous it is to give them that many opportunities over and over, and that England have their own quality and are more than capable of getting a second goal and icing the game, I would hate that. It also just mentally, I think it weakens the team. Because then you're looking up at the clock, waiting for it to count
counting.
down.
Yep.
You know, and I just don't think that's ever a good mindset to say, well, you know, I'm happy with where I'm at. Stop the count, right? You want to almost always, you're better off being the predator than being the prey. And so I think you're absolutely right. And in this instance, I'm a little surprised. Sometimes I think there's inertia to it too.
Yeah.
That once you start, it's an initial human instinct to sit deeper after
fear.
scoring the goal because you're fear.
Yeah.
Because you're afraid of what could happen. And then it becomes hard to break out of that. You know, now everybody's sitting deep.
Got to change gears again.
Especially when the hydration break happened and they were starting to sit back, I thought, okay, this is why people don't like the hydration break, is because it gives England a timeout that ordinarily wouldn't exist in soccer and a chance to regroup and for them to adjust their tactics here and be a little more aggressive, at least for 10 or 15 minutes, and see how it goes. And they didn't really make the adjustment. And in the end, I thought Thierry Henry said it best right after the final whistle, which is that the better team ultimately won.
They did, and they're number 1 in the world for a reason, and they get to play for the championship coming up. All right, a lot more of that, I would assume, coming up tonight.
Yes.
6 o'clock. That's a little sneak preview for you there. So we're past the All-Star game. It was a little bit of a dull night, which they typically are. I always say the All-Star game's kind of like a spring training game, but with star players. It's like, you know, the lineup changes every couple of innings. Everybody's throwing an inning at a time. I don't enjoy it as much as I used to, and that's fine. It's an exhibition. That's what it is. It's just to be a good attention grabber for the sport. But now we're past it. We are now, you know, when the Cardinals start play on Friday, 17 games before the trade deadline. And I think the interesting conversation today is this, and please feel free to jump on the stream, ask a question, throw your opinions in on any of this stuff we're talking about. I'm not real big right now yet, Nate, because I think we got to play it out. I'm not real big yet on throwing out possible trade partners and who could be interested in what. I think it's still a little early for that. But we can start to look at where they are and where do they think they are. We know where they are in the standings. Do they have a plan in mind that is set? I doubt it. I'm sure it's flexible because you've got games to play. And that's kind of what I want to dive into next. I was like, okay, what can happen in 17 days? And really, practically speaking, it's 12 or 13 days because you're making deals with conversations that start before the day before the deadline. I would say, let's call it 2 weeks. What can 2 weeks change? And how much can it change what the front office is thinking? And what are you guys thinking? So we'll just kind of throw that out there. We'll pick that conversation up as we start to look ahead because that's what's next for the Cardinals. You got a stretch of games, a lot of winnable games in this stretch, and you've got a decision to make. You're a game out of a wild card spot, but you're also in the early stages of retooling the team. We'll kind of give our thoughts on how that's playing out. Feel free to throw in yours on the stream here at Redbird Rush Hour on KMOX.
Men, if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, you're not alone. Most importantly, you don't have to live with it. Paramount Men's Medical Center restores men's sex lives in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, even when Viagra and Cialis don't work. Here's Dr. Simovitz, specialist in men's health.
Paramount Men's Medical Center's painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. 98% of patients see instant results right in the office.
Men are now lasting longer than they ever imagined. And the best part, at Paramount Men's Medical Center, your consultation and first treatment are free. Qualified patients even get their testosterone checked free. Call 314-720-8444. 314-720-8444. Take control of your sex life. Call now. 314-720-8444.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You just testified under oath you're getting more fiber in your diet, and it was easy. Where is this additional fiber coming from?
Mira Fiber Gummies.
Objection!
It's true. Mira Fiber has 8 grams of fiber to help me get the fiber I need in a day, plus 4 B vitamins for metabolism support. All in one serving.
Overruled.
My gut rests its case.
Oh, that's my line.
Find Mira Fiber today at your local retailer from the makers of Miralax. Mira Fiber supports metabolism of carbs, fats, and proteins. Serving size is 4 gummies.
This is the take care of my family goal. This is the enjoy the life I've built goal. This is the set up a foundation goal. This is Busey, where your goals become lasting legacies. Through bespoke plans that maximize your wealth, through partnerships that give you peace of mind. Because building wealth, tending to it, and passing it down secures a brighter future. Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth since 1868. Member FDIC.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Why should you hire America's largest injury law firm for your case? There's lots of reasons. Just like there's a reason millions of people called us last year in their time of need. When it comes to fighting for justice and compensation, millions of people across the country trust us to go to battle for them. We became the largest injury law firm in the world for a reason. There's only one Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com. Injured? Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
And Doug.
Limu and I created a trick to help you remember that you can customize your car insurance and save with Liberty Mutual. You see, the shirts Limu and I wear are yellow, and yellow is the color of lemons. And lemons grow on trees, and trees provide oxygen, and oxygen helps us breathe, and breathing is how you live, and you can live more life when you save money by customizing your car insurance. I agree, Limu. It's really quite simple. Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Want to make the most of your tax refund? File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it. With a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, it's an interesting scene now southbound on Highway 270 at Dorset. The exit ramp to Dorset is still closed. Lots of emergency vehicles. MoDOT has some trucks out there with the big arrows on it. There's a fire truck blocking the ramp as well. And it looks like they put some oil dry down. It was an oil spill reported on that whole ramp. They put some oil dry down. It looks like they've got a sweeper out there that's kicking up some dust. So you're going to see some dust as you're passing Dorset on southbound Highway 270. They're still dealing with this crash on Highway 70. It looks like they've cleared it over to the right side at Union, so the backups there approaching Union are gone. So that's the good news. The bad news is we're still dealing with that crash on Highway 61 southbound, and that it is at North Point Prairie Road. So you've got backups now to Big Creek on southbound 61. Northbound Highway 61 drivers are slowing as well, starting at Highway A, just before A, all the way up past Flint Hill, up to North Point Prairie Road. So use some caution and give them a little bit of time to clear that accident out of the way. Still dealing with that injury crash in the Metro East, eastbound Highway 64, just past Route 4. All lanes are closed eastbound 64 past Route 4. So you're detouring off the highway at Route 4. Still watching southbound 270 at Dorset. This fire truck is pulling off the scene and down the ramp. So that's the good news. So maybe there's some movement there for you. I'm Frank Ledd in the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Why pay full insurance when you can customize and save? Switch to Liberty Mutual and they'll customize your auto and home insurance so you only pay for what you need. Liberty, 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 liberty.
Now, back to the Redbird Rush Hour on KMOX.
Sponsored by Busey Bank. Building community with Busey Bank. Beyond the game.
All right, Wednesday on Redbird Rush Hour, talking baseball till the top of the hour. Nate will have baseball and some soccer. Anything else planned other than those two big things for Sports Open Line?
Some soccer outside of the World Cup as well.
Yeah,
we're going to have both.
City's coming back.
And both Billikens men's and women's soccer coaches, Kevin Kalish and Katie Shields, will join us as well. That's cool. Because their schedules were just announced, and there's some bangers, especially the women's schedule.
All right, so you got a mix of those two coming up during Sports Open Line tonight. We'll stay Cardinals the rest of this hour. And we're moving our attention forward, okay? So we talked about Jordan Walker from Monday, which was the big story. That was yesterday. On Monday, we talked about the lead up and where you kind of are. And now that we're past the All-Star game, it's the quietest day in Major League Baseball in the calendar year. Tomorrow we'll have one game. Friday, everybody's back to normal business. But now the question and the attention turns to the trade deadline. We're 17 games away. It's more than 17 days because obviously the Cardinals don't play until Friday. But starting on Friday, 17 games between the trade deadline and that day. So you come into the post-All-Star part of the schedule. You're a game out of a wild card spot. You've been a little up and down lately. You know, you've lost 6 of your last 10. You know, whenever they've gone down, they've come back up a little bit. So you've been down a little bit now for a few weeks, and that's why you're not as high as you were in the wild card. Plus, you know, the Phillies have been good. The Marlins were the hottest team in baseball in June. The Cubs have obviously been good. So it's a tight race. Pittsburgh's been hot. Arizona's gotten hot, and that's the first team out of the gate for you. Now, Arizona's won 6 of their last 10. That's who you open with on Friday out in Arizona. So with 17 games and a clear idea, right? We know that Chaim Bloom has been consistent, Nate. When prioritizing decisions, we're prioritizing the long term over the short term. That's been pretty clear. What's going to be interesting is to see how you balance all things, because you are in a wild card race at the moment. Now, that could change. You go lose 10 of the next 12, you're a clear seller. You go win 10 of the next 12, maybe you got to hesitate. But what I'm saying, I guess, to start with is, barring an extreme outcome over the next 2 weeks, they will probably proceed with whatever their plan is today, which is probably to do a little bit of both. Sell some of your assets that are coming up on free agency and maybe lightly buy to reinforce the bullpen or something like that.
And if there's one thing the Cardinals have in recent and even medium history enjoyed, it's being a team doing a little bit of both.
Yeah, the arbitrage.
To do a little bit of both. And I will say this, too. There's probably something to be said for being able to hide your cards a little bit going into the deadline, that you don't have to be a screaming obvious buyer or seller to the teams that you're engaging with.
Right.
The Cardinals will be in a position where they can engage with probably damn near every team in Major League Baseball.
That's correct.
Especially with expanded postseasons these last few years. I mean, you're dealing with a situation where how many clear sellers are there even? A handful.
Oh, 4 right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And how clear buyers, there are a few more than that, but not that many more. There's a lot of teams that are in that kind of middle bucket, and I think we'll have to see kind of where things end up for them. But my feeling is and I talked about this a little bit last night on Open Line because we got a commenter who was saying, I think I'll be upset if the Cardinals do anything at the deadline, give away anything at the deadline that undermines their playoff chase this year. And I was thinking, I just don't think it's likely they will, because who are the guys they're likely to give up? I mean, maybe they would trade out of the starting rotation.
Dustin May would be in demand.
Potentially Dustin May, although you and I talked about how they might just slap the QO on him, which I think is a good option. Andre Palante would have some market. I mean, are either of those guys that you feel terrible about replacing with Quinn Matthews at this stage?
Well,
this
is the problem that what makes it interesting is that two of the guys that you have that would be most in demand would be May and Romero. And I'm sure Palante would be too because he's cost controlled and he's having a good year. But the problem is that's where you're thinnest is on the pitching side. Like trading Newt, all right, Baez comes up.
Right.
You got an
some
easy
pushback
solution.
even on that last night. But my feeling was the most likely guy on this roster to be traded is Lars Nootbaar.
Yeah.
And he does have real value. In a vacuum, you're saying, well, Lars Nootbaar is somebody who helps you make the playoffs.
He's a good player.
That's objectively true. But we're not making a trade in a vacuum, right? The trade is, the question when you're making the trade is, what are we getting back? And what is replacing Nootbaar? Yep. How much are we losing? Because what you're losing in Nootbaar is not his true value. It's the gap in value between him and his replacement.
Right.
And I think, especially because of how the Cardinals are positioned, there is a lot of value in seeing what Joshua Baez has the last couple of months. But I got a lot of pushback about that last night, saying that Baez is too much of an unknown commodity, which is to some degree true.
Fair.
And that there could be a significant drop-off in production from Nootbaar to Baez for the last couple months of the season.
Could be.
And I've reflected on it, and I can see how you wouldn't want to send that message to the clubhouse. But I still think the most likely guy to move is Nootbaar, and I don't think there would be an uproar of undermining the team's playoff chances.
No, I don't think so. I mean, when your option is to call up a top 100 prospect who has 28 home runs at the All-Star break, that's not going to make anybody mad. In fact, I think a lot of people would get excited to know that you've got an athletic player who last year hit 20 homers and stole 54 bases, and now he's got 28 home runs and 14 steals in 80 games. That's a player that is really interesting. And yes, I mean, he's less of a known than Newt. That's a guarantee. We all agree. Nobody's going to dispute that. But you also have to find out something about Baez before next year, I think. You got to get a look. Well, you don't give him a look for like 3 weeks with a crowded outfield of Church, Nootbaar, and Walker playing every day. You get him a look by clearing a spot. And again, it's not a must. You don't have to trade Nootbaar. But if you do trade him at the deadline, I'm sure the move would be to follow it with a Baez promotion. I don't know why Real Third Man says he would not be called up immediately. Why not?
I was looking at that too.
If they make a deal on August 1st, yeah, you would call up Baez, barring him going into this crazy slump where he's struggling. That's the perfect time. You give him 2 months to play.
And what I will say to that is, I agree with you. I think he would be called up right away. But in the event that the Real Third Man is right, because that comment surprises me, and honestly, I hadn't even thought about that possibility. I think they would call him up right away. But if they don't, I would join in the frustration. If the answer is that they move Nootbaar, and the solution is for a few weeks or longer, they're going to put Jose Fermin in left field every day or something, I would have a problem. I would join in and having a problem.
I think a lot of fans would be upset about that. Yes. And that's part of I want to bring this into the later part of this show too, because I think you're managing two things here. And this is where I think it's an interesting, I don't want to say a catch-22, but it's an interesting balance for Chaim Bloom in the front office, because you have the pure baseball side, which is you want to maximize your assets for your best period of contention, which is not now. It's going to be in the future, right? This is a window to maybe get into a wild card. But I've been talking to some of my buddies in the baseball world, and they seem to agree, like universally, look, this isn't a rotation that's going to win for you in the postseason. You don't have swing and miss. You don't have a front of the line guy. You're not going up against the Dodgers or the Phillies or those teams and winning a 7-game series because of those matchups. I don't think it's an automatic, but I think it's a logical point. So there's the pure baseball side that says, okay, we're good now and we can make the playoffs, but our real window of being a playoff contender to win the whole thing is coming soon. It's not now. But you've got a little bit more energy at the ballpark. You've got more excitement around the team. We've talked about the hope. We talked about that on Monday. There's hope now. How much do you worry about dinging that if you only subtract
and you don't hang in after that fact. I want to get into that, and we'll talk about a whole bunch of other angles on this leading to the deadline coming up after the news on KMOX.
At 5:30, this update is sponsored by Michael's Flooring Outlet, the flooring experts, michaelsflooringoutlet.com. We've got sunshine. It is 89 degrees downtown at the Arch. When a foot of rain resulted in historic flash flooding in Reynolds and Iron counties, Governor Keough says so many people jumped into action, including the Missouri National Guard, Missouri Task Force 1, and more.
We signed an executive order that declared the area a disaster area, and now we'll go through the process with those county officials who, again, were amazing to find out what federal assistance and state assistance can be had to assist in the cleanup.
Keough says there were 360 rescues in just 2 counties that included more than 200 young campers and staff of Camp Tomsock. He says some livestock were lost and unfortunately one person died after being swept away. A major crackdown on unlicensed dispensaries announced today in west central Missouri's Warrensburg. Attorney General Catherine Hanaway joining local law enforcement leaders. Johnson County Prosecuting Attorney Robert Russell explains to MissouriNet why the operation was launched.
This started actually last year with citizen complaints about stores selling things to kids that were not what they were labeled to be. And a lot of that was these products are supposed to be hemp, but in fact they qualify as marijuana.
President Trump says Immigration and Customs enforcement officers should continue vehicle stops despite recent fatal shootings. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth announced today that troops will be tested annually for testosterone levels, a significant shift on a health issue. ABC's Peter Charalambos.
Under the new
hopes buyers will seek out small-scale breeders with established reputations.
So every breed, whether we're talking Labradors or Rottweilers or Shiba Inus or Yorkshire Terriers, is going to have a breed club, and they will be able to point you in the direction of someone who is hopefully relatively local to your community.
Large-scale breeders are under federal investigation. Goodwin regulation. Goodwin contends animals in those so-called puppy mills are often bred every cycle and kept inside in tiny cages their entire lives. The St. Louis Sports Commission's president says since 1989, his group has generated $1 billion of economic impact to the region through big events, including $30 million in sales tax revenue for the city last year. Mark Schreiber says the commission is thankful for the $2.5 million that aldermen recently allocated from the city's Rams Settlement Fund. He says some of that may go toward bid fees for the 2031 World Cup of Rugby.
We hear the talk about the Soccer World Cup, and this wouldn't be necessarily at that level, but still huge. One of the biggest international sporting events we could do. For the biggest one we'd have probably since the 1904 Olympics.
Schreiber says this type of seed money would be replenished by revenue brought in by competitions hosted in St. Louis. The upcoming National Hockey League season begins September 29th. The Blues announced today their home opener will be October 9th against San Jose. The complete NHL season schedule gets announced tomorrow at noon St. Louis time. Side note, we know the Blues will be the road team at 2 home openers, October 2nd at Dallas and October 6th at Chicago. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, for tonight, clear 74. For Thursday and Friday, sunshine, hot and more humid, and a few pop storms. Right now, and 93 those days. Right now, we've got sun and 89 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Let's take a break.
Good idea.
Hey, Tom, what are you doing on that Amendment 4?
You know we fought for our freedom and rights. I'm not giving them away without a fight.
4 takes them?
That's exactly what 4 does. For over 100 years, Missouri voters have used our constitutional power to act when the politicians refused. I'll be darned if I'm voting to pass on less freedom and power to my kids.
It doesn't 4 kill majority rule?
Yep, creates minority rule, where just 5% of statewide voters in one district can block anti-citizen-led reform, making it nearly impossible to pass citizen-led ballot measures.
That's just dumb.
And when the politicians refuse to act, we've used citizen-led ballot measures to pass some big stuff, like lobbyist reforms, term limits for career politicians, and outlawing tax hikes without voter approval.
I'm not surrendering my power and rights to a bunch of politicians and lobbyists. I've no on Amendment 4.
Hard no on 4.
Pay 4 button, Missouri Inch per care governance.
Is life insurance still on your list from earlier this year? Now is the perfect time to just get it done. A buddy told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I added this to my list this year and got it done. I called SelectQuote and was shocked at how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $18 a month. My wife's also 40, and her $5,000 policy was only $16 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, no medical exam was required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Checking this off my list felt great, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-280-5858 for your free quote today. That's 1-800-280-5858. Or go to SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-280-5858. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
You work hard, follow the rules, and get absolutely slammed by taxes. Your paycheck taxed. Your property taxed. Everything you buy taxed. Missouri's tax system isn't broken, it's rigged against you. The lawyers and lobbyists working for big corporations and the super rich buried over 200 loopholes for themselves in our tax code. While they pay nothing on the services they use, working families are taxed over and over. It's no wonder they're lying about Amendment 5. Our corrupt tax system is rigged in their favor. They're getting a free ride on your back. Don't believe their lies. The truth is, Amendment 5 closes loopholes exploited by the super rich and slashes taxes paid by Missouri's working families, phasing out income taxes and cutting property taxes. They finally pay what they owe while you keep what you earn. Vote yes on Amendment 5. Paid for by Missouri Promise PAC.
And Doug.
Limu and I created a trick to help you remember that you can customize your car insurance and save with Liberty Mutual. You see, the shirts Limu and I wear are yellow, and yellow is the color of lemons, and lemons grow on trees, and trees provide oxygen, and oxygen helps us breathe, and breathing is how you live, and you can live more life when you save money by customizing your car insurance. I agree, Limu. It's really quite simple. Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Closeout season is heating up at Seidenstricker partners with sizzling hot summer savings on John Deere compact tractor packages. For a limited time, get $3,500 off the S&P price on a John Deere 2025R with a loader, plus 0% financing with zero down. Find compact tractor package savings at snpartners.com. Seidenstricker, your partner for the land.
Offer valid through 8/31/2026. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Soldiers Memorial Military Museum looks at American military history through the lens of St. Louis. From the Revolutionary War to the present day, the galleries showcase stories of local service members and delve into the city's wartime history. Outside, the Court of Honors includes monuments to those who lost their lives in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Open Wednesday through Sunday. Admission is free. Find information about special exhibits at mohistory.org/memorial. That's mohistory.org/memorial.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com.
For dependable, no-pressure home comfort solutions, turn to Huff Heating and Air Conditioning. Locally owned and family operated for over 40 years. Our team will work with you on a plan that fits your home's needs with financing available. And as always, your family's comfort is our family's business. Learn more at huffheating.com.
When you see this in your kitchen,
the stainless steel fridge is covered in fingerprints.
You hear this.
Leslie, people are going to think you were raised in a barn or by wolves. Or raised in a barn by wolves.
Fortunately, Wyman Stainless Steel 3-in-1 cleans, shines, and protects to give you the best shine. A spray and a wipe will have your fridge shining like a mirror.
Wow, my fridge looks brand new. Your fridge looks amazing, Leslie. Sorry, I was being a little dramatic earlier.
Your kitchen says a lot about you. Let it brag with Wyman.
Broadcasting from the Scott Credit Union Studio, 104.1 FM, KMOX. Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
This update is brought to you by i3 Broadband. MoDOT is still working with this incident southbound on Highway 270 at Dorset. Still seeing delays there approaching that scene. That ramp at Dorset is still closed due to an oil spill. So you've got delays southbound on Highway 270. Headed northbound on Highway 61 out of the Wentzville area, you've got delays starting at Highway A, making your way up towards the past Flint Hill, all the way up to North Point Prairie Road. It's an accident on the southbound lane, southbound Highway 61. Looks like they've got that closed now. So you've got delays back past the Big Creek now, southbound on 61 to North Point Prairie Road, almost down to Flint Hill. So both directions north of Wentzville on 61 are an issue. Looks like we still have the issue eastbound on Highway 64, just past Route 4. IDOT is still reporting an accident there with all lanes closed past Route 4, but I'm not seeing the diversion off the highway onto Route 4 anymore. So that's the good news. So maybe they've got it back open and they just have not updated their website quite yet. Working with a new crash eastbound Highway 64, just past Illinois I-255 in the Metro East this afternoon. So you've got some delays approaching that scene. Westbound 64 thinning out passing Forest Park. Summer celebrations are here and i3 Broadband keeps you connected. Head over to i3broadband.com/radio today or call 866-806-5485 to upgrade because life runs better on fiber and i3 Broadband is here for you. I'm Frank Ladd in the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
This time check is sponsored by Paramount Men's Medical Center. It's 5:41.
Now, back to the Redbird Rush Hour on KMOX.
Sponsored by Busey Bank. Building community with Busey Bank. Beyond the game.
All right, picking it back up as we kind of we're building up to the good trade deadline talk because we're going to get rumors here really soon. You're going to have more names attached to teams and, what teams are going to do. And we're still trying to figure out exactly which way the Cards are going to go. But Nate, I've been talking to a lot of people, not just in town, like some national baseball people, what they're hearing. I'm talking to them just via text and stuff because I'm just right now I'm just getting a feel for how things look. And I had a couple guys mention that they heard during the All-Star break that there's a possibility that the Cardinals do a little bit of both, that they sell a guy or two, but then also maybe look for a controllable bullpen arm or a controllable back of the rotation starter or a controllable right-handed bat or a third baseman, for example. Like, there are a lot of things that could come up. And I do think that their performance in the next couple of weeks can alter the urgency with which they attack the deadline. But in the end, I don't know that today there's a right answer for how you do it. I think the idea here is if you can do something good for the future without cutting off your legs for the present, that's the ideal circumstance, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the other thing is, and I should give credit to, I don't remember who it was, but our comment section in general, because I was talking about this a week or two ago, and this was specifically in a Newt Bar context, but it could be potentially in other contexts. The idea was it doesn't necessarily have to be, especially when you have a team like the Cardinals who are operating in this sort of arbitrage space, as you said. It doesn't have to be a sell or a buy even in an individual trade. It doesn't have to be that they're trading away Newt Bar and therefore they're bringing in some 18-year-old who they hope helps them win the World Series in 2034.
Right. You might find a team that would give you a reliever for him straight up.
Precisely. Right. That was the possibility that was put in the comment section when I was talking about this a week or two ago. Now, I will say, specifically when you are trading a player away at the deadline, an established big leaguer like Newt Bar, to presumably a team that expects to contend, those teams are usually not in the business of giving away quality relief pitchers going into the final 2 months of the season. They're valuing relief pitchers higher than anybody else.
But sometimes those teams have good players or good pitchers, for example, that are blocked. Like they're in AAA, they're ready to pitch in the big leagues, but they don't have a spot for them.
Right. And the Cardinals would love to get one or two of those guys in exchange for Newt Bar, who could potentially, especially if they're bringing up Baez right away and he plays okay to better than okay, could make the Cardinals better in August and September than they would have been with Newt Bar in the aggregate, and certainly could improve them next year, the year after. Real Third Man says that was me, and I think it was him. So shout out to you. So that's
a good question.
This proves, by the way, that we do read the comments and think about them. I reflect on the comments, and sometimes I will change an opinion or at least account for it. So I appreciate that comment, and I think it's very true. It probably doesn't apply as readily to the pitchers because the Cardinals would be trading, as you noted, out of the area of the team where they don't have as much depth.
They're
in the
a little
area of the
thinner
organization.
Towards the big leagues. But again, not that they don't have numbers, but you don't have high-end stuff ready, right? Like Bryson Motts is a solid pitcher, but he's not a stud. We think that Quinn Matthews might be better than that, but he's only been really good now for about a month. because he's had control problems. But he's always had good ability. So it's not that you don't have anything, but pitching depth is hard to move away from if you're trying to hang in a race. And the question is simply, how much do you value providing an exciting 2 months for your fan base when they've come off a couple of down years, but now the excitement's starting to come back? And I do think that's a consideration. I don't think it's the only consideration. I think you have two tracks that you have to pay attention to. You've got the baseball and the business, and I don't mean the money. I'm just talking about fan excitement. Ticket sales matter. They want to sell tickets the last couple of months. If you fire sale it, that's not going to happen. But that's why I don't think they're going to do it, because they are going to balance both of those worlds.
And they're even though this season has been better than than last year was, they are at the low point season ticket sales wise, because this year is when they're feeling sort of the delayed effect of the last couple of seasons. But the tickets have picked up. They have picked up.
So if you look at some recent home series, they've been selling more tickets than they expected because they're getting better walk-up.
And to your point, if they could make the playoffs, and that, even if it's just one series, invigorates. And I realize I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth a little bit here, because
you have to consider both of these.
Right.
Yeah.
Last night I was saying, and I do believe this as an overarching philosophy, that the goal of a baseball team, especially one of the Cardinals' stature, is to win World Series, not to get third wild cards. But there is something to be said for invigorating the fan base, such that then in December and January, people are buying more season tickets for next year.
This is the thing. These things are all tied together. You're right. Because ticket sales are a big part of what have driven Cardinals' ability to spend over the last 20 or 25 years. One of their differentiators that allowed them to carry a payroll bigger than the market size was their attendance. So growing that actually directly impacts your ability to contend in the next 3 or 4 years, because the more money you have to spend, the more good players you can have. So it's all interconnected, which is why it's so interesting. It's not an either or. I think you got to consider the quality of offers. If you're blown away, of course, take the blow you away offer. Take the Godfather offer. But we have to think about too, what does September look like? If you're in a wild card spot and you spend a month battling for the playoffs, your attendance is going to go up. So it's the playoff series itself, but it's also the 5-week lead up to that where there's still continued excitement and there's still people that are coming out and the tarps off are still going. And I know that that's not by itself your only goal or your only reason for doing things, but it is absolutely an influential factor.
And would you say that outside of the players who are obviously just totally untouchable and would never come up in these conversations, that Dustin May is the most likely, especially if he pitches well in his last 2 or 3 starts that he might have before an offer would come in, to get you I don't want to overuse the word Godfather offer, because it wouldn't be a trade as though he's the best pitcher in baseball.
Right. It won't be
but
that.
Who's most likely to get you an offer that the front office feels is a 20-30% overpay?
Something that could include a top 100 prospect. Yeah, he would be that guy of the guys that you would be moving, in part because of his stuff, right? People like hard throwers. He throws 99, and he's got playoff experience from his time with the Dodgers, even though it was a number of years ago. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty simple, and because starting pitching is always in demand for contenders, and just is. All right, one more segment to go. Sports Open Line after the news. Nate Gatter, Kevin Wheeler with you here on Redbird Rush Hour on KMOX.
Each week during the Redbird Rush Hour, we put a spotlight on someone who's making the community better using sports. It's building community with Busey Bank beyond the game. Join us this week for another story of someone who's finding a way to make a big impact on the community we all call home. Brought to you by Busey Bank.
The one thing that's great in the real world, like not in sports world, although in sports world, these things we talk about, the markets and buying and selling, you do have experts that are doing it. But we tend to follow those deals and things a little bit more closely. I don't have nearly that experience when it comes to real estate. That's why if I have a question, if I look to sell, I'm calling Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She is St. Louis's real estate expert. She's been doing this for more than 20 years, has a database of thousands of buyers in waiting, and just makes the process easier for you, because what she will get you is the most amount of money with the least amount of hassle. That's the best of all worlds when you're making a big transaction. And for a lot of us, actually most of us, the biggest transactions you're going to make in your day-to-day life are homes, buying and selling homes. And that's what Gloria Liu is the best at. In addition to having that big database, they have got a system that works. It's proven over a couple of decades. I don't know how much more evidence you need than that. And there's a reason why Gloria sells more homes than most other agents. She's selling a home almost every other day on a regular basis. Other agents maybe 4 or 5 a year. And it's because of the system. It's because of the database. And it's also because of these upfront guarantees that you get to benefit from. Gloria Lou will sell your home at a price and a time frame acceptable to you, or she will buy your home herself. Or she'll sell your home at 100% of market value or pay you the difference. Either way, big win for you. That's why you call Gloria Lou. 314-325-6888. That's 314-325-6888. Or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. And if you're not in the market to buy or sell at the moment, but you're in the market for a level up in your real estate career, Gloria's hiring too. So if you want to join the best team in town, you should call Gloria as well, because you're talking about proven winner, best in the business, and they're looking for highly motivated inside sales and listing agents right now. So you can call her 314-325-6888, very same number. As always, when it comes to the guarantees, seller and Gloria must agree on price and possession date.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, just in over the scanner literally seconds ago, southbound Highway 270, just north of Highway 44, a crash reported blocking the right lane. 2 vehicles involved in that. Still dealing with that crash, southbound Highway, the oil spill, I should say, southbound Highway 270, ramp to Dorset, that ramp remains closed. Southbound 61, that crash at North Point Prairie continues. That has you backed up to north of John Creech Road now, headed southbound on 61. Northbound drivers are impacted as well. You're backed up to Flint Hill from the accident scene on northbound 61, and still dealing with a crash eastbound on Highway 64 at Illinois 157. You've got a little bit of a backup headed towards I-255. I'm Frank Ladd on the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Now, back to the Redbird Rush Hour on KMOX.
Sponsored by Busey Bank. Building community with Busey Bank. Beyond the game.
You know, so guys that are regular Redbird Rush Hour listeners, you know, we do like, and you don't know, I don't know if you know this or not, Nate, but on Fridays a lot when Bernie's in, because Bernie loves this band. This is Turnstile. I turned him on to it. He loves them. We all kind of have Turnstile Fridays to have a good vibe. But it's Kyle's last day, and Kyle's also a big Turnstile guy, but it's his last day at KMOX. So we're letting Kyle play the music today. We appreciate you, buddy. You've been awesome. And I'm going to come stay at your place when you move. Not permanently, just when I vacation in Chicago.
That sounds great.
All right, so I'm going to come hang out with you guys. In fact, all DGS is going to come hang out. Nate, you're invited too.
Oh,
We're just
great.
going to crash his new place in the city in Chicago. We're all going to go out and eat and drink and have a good time, and then crash at Kyle's place.
Before you said that I was also invited, I was thinking, I'm just kind of sitting over here.
No, you're in.
What, the hotel chair? I guess that'd be the appropriate
Kyle's
way
just nodding along, so I guess you're okay, because I'm the one making all the plans. Kyle didn't offer any of this. I just decided it.
Yeah, well, Kyle's a cool guy. You know, he's the type of guy who would give you the air mattress off his floor if that's all he had.
That's all he's got right now.
That might be all he has at the moment.
We appreciate you, buddy. Great job all your time here. We love having you.
Thank you.
And then we'll stalk you later. But that's why you're hearing the Turnstile stuff today. I figured we'd go out that way. So just a couple minutes left. You know, you're picking up the season on Friday, Nate, and you know you're in Arizona and then you're in Anaheim. So it's the Diamondbacks and the Angels right out of the gate. Diamondbacks have played pretty well here lately. I think they just swept the Dodgers in a series right before the All-Star break. So that'll be a good challenge. Angels stink, but that doesn't always mean anything when you're out on the West Coast. And then you come home for Arizona, Cincinnati, and Chicago. And that basically takes you right up to the deadline week. So it's going to be a hell of a fun run.
And kind of a good measuring stick, because I think, you know, most of those are challenging series, but none of them overwhelming, right? They're not spending this time playing the absolute best.
The Cubs will be the toughest of that group, yeah.
Right. They're not spending this time playing the absolute best of the best. So, you know, if they can't have a winning record in the remaining games between now and the deadline, I don't know that anybody's beating the drum saying this team can't sell a little bit, or at least has to be buying or something. Because I think there's almost nothing the Cardinals could do between now and the deadline that would turn them into legitimate buyers in the traditional sense, where they're giving up something of real value.
No.
It would just be how high is the price to get them to give anything up, and they could change that calculus if they had a really good next couple of weeks. But for the most part, I think I'm going into this, and I understand if fans aren't, but I'm going into this saying Heim is pitching a perfect game to this point, as far as I'm concerned.
Let him cook.
It's still early days for the Heim era, but it's going pretty darn well.
I agree.
I'm going to sit back and let the man do what he wants, and we're going to see how it goes.
So far, he's earned the trust. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to let him cook. If he decides to go one way or the other, like, this is not a time where we're like, you blew it, because he's done so much the right way so far, and we've seen this accelerated, I think, more quickly than we thought. The only thing, and we only have a minute and a half or so, but I can do this quick. I don't think there's a big move. I agree with you that I'm sorry, we got 30 seconds. I'll do it even quicker. I don't think there's a big move for a high-price player rental, impact player for a top prospect. I could see something like a catcher of your stable for a third base type that could be around for a few years. But I would say it's much more likely that it's a mild buy and a moderate sell and a combination of those two things. But we'll see. You go win 10 games in a row, you can change that conversation at least a little bit, but not dramatically. All right, buddy, have a good show tonight. Nate Gatter's got Sports Open Line for you coming up after the news on KMOX.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
America is turning 250 this year, and Circa Sports is celebrating by offering all users in Missouri $250. For everyone in Missouri, all you have to do is deposit $250 on your Circa Sports app, then play through that deposit. Once you do, Circa Sports will reward you with $250 right in your account. This is available for everyone in Missouri, new and existing users. Celebrate 250 years and find out more at circasports.com today. Must be 21 or older and in Missouri. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
We are on the biggest stage in the world right now, and you know I am talking about soccer. The whole world is paying attention, and FanDuel has decided to change the game. And as you know, if you bet soccer, that sometimes your player gets subbed out, and then what happens? Your bet goes with them. Well, FanDuel says we have a better way to do it. That's not happening anymore. With FanDuel Super Sub, if your player subbed out, your bet stays in. That's right. If your player leaves the match, your bet continues with the substitute. So you are still in it until the final whistle. Just go to FanDuel.com/Missouri to get started now. I've been telling you about this app for many, many months. I love using it. It's easy to use. All the information you need is right there. FanDuel.com/Missouri. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel. Must be 21 or over and present in Missouri. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You take care of your dog out of love and responsibility. But what if every scoop that you're feeding them is slowly making them sicker? Not because you're a bad pet owner, but because the pet food industry never told you the truth. Greetings, naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black, Amazon #1 best-selling author and founder of Rough Greens here. Dog food is dead food, stripped of every live nutrient that your dog needs. That's where Rough Greens comes in. Just sprinkle it on top of whatever you're already feeding them. It's packed with live probiotics, enzymes, omega oils, and over 20 live vitamins and minerals, all natural and made in the USA. Thousands of dog owners are watching their pets transform. More energy, shinier coat, better mobility, and your dog could be next. Take the Rough Greens 90-day challenge. Give us 90 days and we'll give you a healthier dog, guaranteed. Get a free Jumpstart trial bag for your dog today. You just cover the shipping. Go to roughgreens.com. Use discount code USA. That's RUFFgreens.com. Discount code USA. Rough Greens. So good, your dog will ask for it by name.
Hi, I'm Mark Cantor. The people around here are hardworking people, just like you. And when someone in your family gets hurt in a car wreck, everything can change very fast. That's why having a local lawyer matters. At Cantor Injury Law, we know these towns, these roads, and the people who drive them every day. When you call us, you're calling a local team with boots on the ground, ready to fight for you. You can count on Cantor.
EnterInjuryLaw.com. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertising.
For the last 33 years, you've discovered that at Banner Construction, we pride ourselves on quality craftsmanship. We believe the single most important decision homeowners must make when considering an exterior restoration project is who do you hire. At Banner, we provide well-engineered, meaningful, long-term solutions to transform your home into the pride of the neighborhood. Let us help you fall in love with your home all over again. Call or visit bannerconstruction.com and have a banner day.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, we're still dealing with the oil spill southbound Highway 270. The ramp to Dorset remains closed there, as do some lanes underneath the highway on Dorset. So use some caution in that stretch. Still dealing with the crash southbound Highway 61 at North Point Prairie. The good news is we've got one lane back open, though, southbound. Still backed up to John Creech Road. Northbound 61 drivers are backed up to Flint Hill. Make your way up to the accident scene. Crash reported eastbound 64 at Illinois 157, as well as that crash eastbound Highway 64 just past Route 4. And we can clarify where the crash is southbound on Highway 270 now, north of 44. It is currently blocking the two left lanes. More emergency vehicles are pulling up on the scene. Two left lanes and the left shoulder. Frank Ladd, the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
The trusted voice of St. Louis. KMOX AM St. Louis. KMOX FM Hazelwood. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The renewed fight over the Strait of Hormuz leading to another day of sustained U.S. airstrikes against Iran. Here's ABC's Louis Martinez.
The fifth consecutive day of airstrikes, morning airstrikes that took place during daylight hours. Now, that's the first time we've seen anything since the first 40 days of this conflict, which now started about 5 months ago. So intense activity. We are seeing sustained operations. We are seeing now wave after wave. By one count, it's about the third wave of airstrikes that we've seen over the last 24 hours.
In San Francisco, the Coast Guard says at sunset tonight it will suspend the search for 3 people on board a boat that began to sink in the bay yesterday near Alcatraz. 1 person died. Severe flooding in Texas following torrential rain this week. Parts of central Texas bracing for more rainfall through Thursday. The Producer Price Index showing wholesale prices for all goods and services fell 0.3 of a percentage point in June, better than what analysts expected. This is ABC News. In Texas, law enforcement in Cyprus on scene of a shooting at a Kroger store in Harris County. The captain, Juan Flores, with the constable precinct, says one walked out with injuries and another was found inside the store. Flores wouldn't comment on any details about the investigation, but says police are not searching for any suspects. BMW issuing a recall impacting 30,000 vehicles, several models on that list.
BMW's recall comes due to risk of fire from a short circuit in the starter relay. The recall report says the engine starter relay might corrode, then it can overheat and short circuit. The recall impacts certain 2018 to 2020 530e Drive, 740L Drive, 530e Performance, and 330e Performance models. Dealers will replace the engine starter. Owners are being told to park their vehicles outside, away from any buildings, until the starter can be replaced. Recall notices will go out to owners in late August.
ABC's Alex Stone, Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
At 6:02, we've got sunshine downtown at the Arch. It is 89 degrees. East St. Louis and Illinois are responding after a 15 and 16-year-old have been charged with committing a mass shooting.
Unspeakable acts of violence, of evil.
This was tragic for both families.
Reaction from the community after 7 were shot, 5 fatally, in a familial mass shooting over the weekend across East St. Louis. Many local leaders stressed the need to offer help and guidance for the youths in their region in order to stem further violence. With that in mind, I asked if retaliation was a concern. The Illinois State Police simply said they're focused on keeping people safe. East St. Louis Councilman Lavando Pulley made this plea to local nonprofits and churches.
Reinvent those youth programs, get into these youth minds. If they aren't guided, they're misguided.
Sean Malone, KMOX News.
In an effort to curb straw gun sales, the ATF, law enforcement, and U.S. attorneys have launched the campaign, Don't Lie for the Other Guy.
People are criminally responsible for lying on ATF forms in order to get weapons in the hands of people that couldn't fill out the forms themselves.
U.S. Attorney Tom Alba says the straw buyers may not be involved in criminal activity,
but might from time to time in their lives be approached by people saying, hey, can you help me obtain this firearm, to understand that if you do that, you've gotten yourself into the soup just as if you were being involved in an illegal possession of a firearm or a violent offense.
KMOX asked about the unscrupulous gun owners. ATF Special Agent Butch Hansen.
A lot of it goes back to education, and we try to educate them so they understand what's going on. If they've been educated, they know the laws, then, we conduct criminal investigations if there's relevant information to justify one.
Maria Kina, KMOX News.
When a foot of rain resulted in historic flash flooding in Reynolds and Iron counties, Governor Kehoe says many people jumped into action.
We signed an executive order that declared the area a disaster area, and now we'll go through the process with those county officials who again, were amazing to find out what federal assistance and state assistance can be had to assist in the cleanup.
Kehoe says there were 360 rescues in just 2 counties. Some people sickened in a multi-state parasite outbreak report eating at Taco Bell before symptoms began.
Multiple media reports say investigators are examining whether lettuce or other salad greens are tied to thousands of cyclosporiasis cases. In a statement released on social media, Taco Bell says it has temporarily removed some ingredients at select locations as a precaution and says health leaders have not confirmed a link to the chain or any specific product. Matt Pilger, Missouri Net.
The St. Louis Sports Commission is getting $2.5 million from the Rams settlement funding. Commission President Mark Schreiber tells KMOX the money will be used to create a sustainable account for use in bid fees or guarantees for future sporting events the city would like to land.
We dip into that fund, we pull that money out, and then the event comes through. The sales tax revenue generated from that event, a portion of that sales tax revenue goes back in.
Schreiber says the next bidding deadline for the commission is August 31st. It's trying to land the 2031 World Cup of Rugby. Hopefully the highways are not like being on the rugby pitch, Frank Ladd.
Well, there are some issues out there still, Michael. Still dealing with delays southbound on Highway 270. That ramp to Dorset remains blocked due to an oil spill there. Emergency vehicles are on the scene. Southbound Highway 61, they've got a lane open at North Point Prairie Road. It sets up north of Wentzville, north of Flint Hill. But you're still seeing delays from John Creech Road down to Big Creek on southbound 61. Northbound drivers are impacted as well. Those delays start north of Highway A on 61. That crash is there, southbound Highway 270, just north of Highway 44 that we had called in a couple of updates ago. The 2 left lanes and the left shoulder are blocked on southbound 270 just before Highway 44. We've thinned out completely westbound 70 through St. Charles County, as well as westbound 64 coming out of the city, passing Forest Park. Southbound 270, otherwise from the oil spill at Dorset looks good as well. South of there, making their way down towards Doherty Ferry, and the accident at Highway 44. This update is brought to you by the Sandberg Phoenix Law Firm. I'm Frank Ladd in the MichaelsFlooringoutlet.com Traffic Center.
At Sandberg Phoenix, we're more than just a law firm. We're partners committed to you, your business, and your community. From family law to litigation, we're ready to serve. Visit SandbergPhoenix.com. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertising.
The summer feel certainly getting back into St. Louis, and it's going to be around basically right through the weekend, maybe even into early next week. Though I want to stress nothing extreme is on the horizon. Clear skies this evening and overnight. 74 will do it for the low. Thursday, partly sunny skies. It's warm and humid. 93 for the high. We'll keep an eye out for a couple of spot thunderstorms, mainly afternoon variety and into the early evening. The stronger ones, nothing severe, will produce some downpours of rain and a little bit of lightning. Thursday night, some spot evening storms, otherwise partly cloudy, 75. Friday, partly sunny, warm and humid. Again, some spot thunderstorms around Friday afternoon into the evening. 93 degrees over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, sunny, and 93 each day. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Dave Murray on 104.1 FM. KMOX.
Downtown at the Arch at the moment, we've got sunshine right now. It's 89 degrees. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Come on, let's get going now.
From KMOX Sports.
We're primed and ready. All day, baby. Man, let's go.
This is the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Gray Bar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. On 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Here we go. Gray Bar Sports Open Line this evening. Nate Gatter with you in for Matt Pauley. Kyle Sixta is producing. And although this might be the deadest of all dead nights in the sports calendar, it is not going to be a dead show because we had big events today. Argentina coming from behind to beat England 2-1 in the World Cup semifinals and set up Sunday's final in New Jersey between Argentina and Spain. We'll also be, of course, talking about the Cardinals and where they stand heading into one of my favorite 2-week stretches in the baseball calendar. In this case, maybe closer to 2.5-week stretches in the baseball calendar from the end of the All-Star break to the trade deadline. And they are in, as we talked about during Redbird Rush Hour with Kevin Wheeler, a position where that could go either way or both ways at the deadline. We'll visit with Bernie Miklas in just a few minutes talking about that. We'll also talk about St. Louis Billikens soccer with both Kevin Kalish, head coach of the men's team, and Katie Shields, head coach of the women's team, at 6:35 and 7:35, respectively. Their schedules were announced last week, and a lot of excitement ahead for both of those programs, the perennially excellent women's team and the men's team coming off their first College Cup appearance since Kevin Kalish was a player back in the 90s. And, of course, tomorrow will start a very busy day on the sports calendar because just after midnight, 12:35 Central Time, 12:35 a.m., that is, Central Time, the first players will tee off at Royal Birkdale, north of Liverpool, England, in the Open Championship. So we will have Dan Reardon, KMOX golf analyst, on in the second hour to look at the Open Championship first round and the entire weekend. And the Open Championship folks breathe a slight sigh of relief at England's elimination because they don't have to worry about a collision between an England-included World Cup final and the final round of the Open Championship on Sunday. All of that is in store and more tonight because the biggest headline is it's Kyle Sixta's last day at KMOX. So we'll be talking about that as well. All to come. You don't want to miss it. Gray Bar Sports Open Line with Bernie Miklas coming up after the break on KMOX.
I'm Dr. Colleen Bosler with the Audiology Center, and I'm talking with my associate, Dr. Adam Voss. What happens to a person's brain when they ignore their hearing loss?
There is such a strong connection between the ear and the brain. Ignoring your hearing loss can cause the brain to become lazy and the speech areas in the brain to shrink. This is partially why you can hear the words, but you cannot understand them. If a hearing loss goes untreated for too long, it may cause an irreversible change in the brain. It is incredibly important to have your hearing screened at 60 or older, or sooner if you're noticing difficulty. And the sooner someone treats their hearing loss, the better and quicker their brain will adapt to hearing sound again. Studies show that those who get hearing aids, even with a mild hearing loss, are much more successful hearing aid users as compared to those that wait longer.
So call us today to get your comprehensive hearing evaluation with one of our doctors. 636-441-7470. Or visit us online, theaudiologycenterstl.com.
Let me tell you something about insurance. When you sign your insurance policy, for some brokers, that's the finish line. Handshake, commission, done. Then you may not hear from them again until it's time for renewal. But your business runs all year, so do the gaps and the risk. So go to supersure.com. If your company has more than 25 employees, whether you're the owner, CFO, or HR manager, it can be too complex to just go buy a policy online. Supersure is the super agency built for you, licensed in every state for your business insurance and employee benefits, all with year-round support for you and your team. At supersure.com, you can access tools like fine print facts. It'll translate your current policy into plain English so you see what's covered and what's not. Plus a business value calculator so you can estimate what your business is worth so you know what actually needs protecting. Go to supersure.com. One super agency, one powerful platform, all your policies in one place. Supersure.com. That's supersure.com. Paid for by Supersure Insurance Agency, LLC, a licensed insurance agency.
Listen up. If you have not paid self-employment, business, or individual taxes in years, the IRS will find you. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. I offer real solutions. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call me, Lance Story, today, and let me get between you and the IRS. I'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal, or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. At the Lance Story Law Firm, our practice is focused 100% on fighting the IRS. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis. Call 314-260-6120 or visit LanceDruryLaw.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Most sellers put their home on the market and just wait to see what happens. This is Debbie Monterey. I'm with Gloria Liu, your home sold guaranteed realty. Gloria, is there a better way to sell?
There is. Instead of listing your home the traditional way and hoping for the right buyer,
I can get you up to 8 competitive cash offers right from the start. That means you're not guessing what your home might sell for. You're looking at the real offers and choosing the one that works the best for you. It also helps you to set the right price and create stronger demand if you decide to go to market. It gives you control, leverage, and a clear path forward before you accept just any offer. And remember, I'll guarantee to sell your home at 100% of the market value, or I'll pay you the difference.
Before you sell your home, see what your options are. Call the one I trust, Gloria Liu, 314-325-6888, or visit gloriahasthebuyers.com. That's gloriahasthebuyers.com. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
Soldiers Memorial Military Museum looks at American military history through the lens of St. Louis. From the Revolutionary War to the present day, the gallery showcases stories of local service members and delve into the city's wartime history. Outside, the Court of Honors includes monuments to those who lost their lives in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Open Wednesday through Sunday. Admission is free. Find information about special exhibits at mohistory.org/memorial. That's mohistory.org/memorial.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance. And now we're customizing this ad for your morning commute to wake you up, which could help your driving. Science says that stimulating the brain increases alertness. So here's a pop quiz. How many months have 28 days? What gets wetter as it dries? What has keys but can't open locks? If you don't want to hear the answers, turn off this Liberty Mutual ad now. 12 months, a towel, piano. Enjoy being fully alert.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Bernie Miklasz on KMOX is sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin comfort dealer.
Graybar Sports Open Line continues this Wednesday evening of the All-Star break. Nate Gatter back with you in for Matt Pauley. Pleasure to be joined now by Bernie Miklasz, who I just can't get enough of working with. Bernie, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I feel likewise. How are you doing?
I had to get in there first. You know, I've accused you of always putting me on the back foot with that. So this time I had to launch a preemptive strike.
Yeah, I almost kind of like fell out of my chair there a little bit. So yeah.
So let's talk about the Cardinals and this time of year. I said going into break, and I feel this way, that this is one of my favorite stretches of the season reliably. The 2.5 weeks in between the end of the All-Star break and the trade deadline. Because I think it's one of the only times of year that, although from different perspectives, basically all of baseball and all baseball fans are engaged in the same conversation, which is who's moving and why, right? You can be a buyer, you can be a seller, you can be, as Kevin Wheeler called them, an arbitrage team in between, trying to do a bit of both and come out ahead the way the Cardinals often are. All teams and fans are engaged in the same processes for the same reasons, trying to make their team better, whether now or in the future, just coming at it from different angles. And I think it's a really fun kind of united time of the baseball calendar before we get into, say, September, when the conversations in different markets diverge quite a bit based on where you are in the standings. What do you see as the Cardinals conversation to be had over the next 2.5 weeks?
I think it's a tough one to answer, as you know, because there are so many variables that could influence if they come out of the gate 20 games, 20 days, and they get through it really well and they're really good shape. What does that mean in terms of Chaim Bloom, what he'll do? I don't have any doubt that he'll I used to say Band-Aids. I'm going to say bandages because that sounds like more substantial. Like he's not going to be in play for any of the big fish. He's not going to do anything where he has to give up anything that'll cause them pain in terms of prospects. He's going to stick to the plan. He's going to be very disciplined. But to me, if the Cardinals get off to a good start in the second half, I think he's going to have to go find some bandages, and bandages aren't that expensive. You know, what are we talking about? We're talking about maybe a couple of relievers, things like that. Maybe there's a bench player that could fit in some type of platoon split arrangement. So I do think at the very least there'll be a bandage or two brought in here. But now if the Cardinals, you know, and here's the weird thing, because I said it's tough, but then the more I think about it, maybe it's not so tough. But if the Cardinals get off the terrible start in the second half, I don't think I've thought all along, no matter what their situation is, my belief, and I could be wrong, obviously, my belief, based on stuff I've picked up, is that Chaim Bloom's going to trade away whoever he wants to trade away if the right offer comes in. But that list is topped by Lars Nootbaar, maybe Dustin May, maybe a reliever or two. But if the right offer comes in, I mean, he'll move a couple guys out. I really believe that. If it's in the best interest of the Cardinals and their future, and it's within the boundaries or the scope of his plan, and he's got a pretty firm plan about how they're going to do this thing over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I don't think there's anything the Cardinals could do in a positive direction over the next couple of weeks that would stop Chaim Bloom from trading one of those pieces with limited control, whether it's the rest of this year, one more year, whatever it might be, for a really, really good offer if one came in. I do think there are some things they could do negatively to encourage him to take even a more mediocre offer for one of those guys, which is to say that if they were to lose 10 out of their next 15 games going toward the deadline, they could play themselves into the back end of the picture and put pressure on him to make moves away. In some ways, that might be the lowest stress scenario for Chaim Bloom because he doesn't have to deal with as much backlash if that were to happen. If we assume the Cardinals are still sitting somewhere around where they are now, let's say right now they're a game out of the third wild card. Let's say they're in the third wild card or within 2 or 3 games of it. How important, if you were Chaim Bloom, how important would it be to you to get this team this year into the postseason, just as a baseline goal, even if the likelihood of winning a series or more is relatively low and the likelihood of winning the World Series is remote?
I think he would want to do what he can to help the team, to make sure they get a boost in some way, maybe in a couple of ways. But again, we're not talking about big names. We're not talking about blockbuster trades. We're not talking about headlines that are going to get everyone, heading to the fainting couch. It's not going to be that type of thing. But as we saw, I always go back to this guy that they picked up in spring training, George Soriano. They make a trade for George Soriano, and everybody's looking at George Soriano. It's like, what? Why do they want him? Why do they want him? Look at this career RA. Look at all the times that he's been, like released by teams and blah, blah, blah. What is he doing? When a guy like Chaim Bloom, who was born and raised, as a matter of speaking, in that Tampa Bay front office, there's something about that in their DNA. They always find these little gems that other teams overlook, or they just don't understand there's potential there. They saw some things in George Soriano and got him for a song, and they fixed him up and reshaped a couple of his pitches. He's been outstanding in the bullpen. So that's what I'm talking about. There are guys out there like that. And if Chaim Bloom sees an opportunity to somebody they really like, who's not a big name, not a star, but he can be a very useful piece, I think he'll do what he can within reason to go out there and make a trade like that. So it's going to be interesting because I actually think, the Cardinals are pretty good. I did a piece the other day at Sports Central, and people can still find it, a little shameless self-promotion there. Because, what's frequently said, which is understandable, don't get me wrong, is that, well, they got the same record. They had the 50-45 record last year through 95 games, and look what happened. My answer to that, and we don't have time to get into it, but read the piece and, we could talk about it some other time. My answer to that is this team now is a lot different than that team a year ago in ways that people, I think, probably have forgotten about. People don't remember the Sonny Gray after the trade, after starting around July. It's like his last 16 starts, he had like an ERA of close to 5.50. There were things like that. There were other starting pitchers, Michaelis and Palante Fetty. They just couldn't win games when they started. I mean, this rotation this year, for example, I'm not saying it's great. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying, that it's on par with the best top 5 in the land. But it doesn't have the preponderance of liabilities that last year's rotation had. That's one thing. It really is. I mean, last year when Michaelis and Fetty or Palante started, the Cardinals were 20 games under 500, and so they don't have an obvious horrible link like that. I mean, Libator was for a while, but it looks like he's getting better. So that's one example. The Cardinals starting rotation now, is 10th in ERA, and some people say, well, ERA, got to be careful with that. I agree. They're also 10th in the majors in fielding independent ERA. Like I said, they're solid. They're actually better than I think people realize. The thing that concerns me, and also the first 4 spots, and even now with Lupar, the first 5 spots in the Cardinals lineup, really, really good. And I think the Cardinals in some ways have a better offense this year, and they're much better on the road than they've been. They win on the road. Last year, they were horrible on the road. I mean, I've got so many different examples of that. When we talk about, well, I don't want to hear about 50 and 45 last year, and there's somehow that means something for this year. Did last year's team have J.J. Weatherholt second base? Did last year's team have Jordan Walker having an all-star caliber season and leading the majors in RBIs? I must have missed that. I don't recall seeing that on that Cardinals team last year. So I actually think this team's pretty good. And I think that I'm like everybody else. When they're not playing well, you get frustrated. Maybe you downgrade them more than you should. I think there's a lot there, though. They've got flaws, but isn't it true that most of these wild card contenders have flaws? I mean, we're not looking at perfect teams here. So, that's why I'm so fascinated. I think the Cardinals are still quietly better than the industry thinks, maybe even locally to an extent. They're better than people think. But you know what? They've got to go out there and, in effect, validate that very premise. So I'm really looking forward to it. Sorry for the long answer.
No, and long answer is what we're doing here. I mean, that's we're in the business of long answers, and it's funny that you say that because yesterday off the air, my wonderful producer Kyle Sixto, who's having his last show here at KMOX.
Man, I'm gonna miss him.
Yeah, he's a gem.
Yeah. He's excellent.
And we were having a conversation off the air about, because I want to be clear, I would agree with you. I am so excited about the direction of the Cardinals. I've said that on this station a bunch of times. The vibes are so much better than they were at this time last year. There is so much more optimism about how this club looks next year and the year after and the year after, whereas last year's team was, if anything, on the downswing. This team is so clearly on the upswing with so much growth potential still in front of them, not to mention how much money they'll have to spend and the prospect pool they have coming up and all of those things. Right. But with this particular iteration, with the 2026 team, we were both thinking, they're pretty good, but I'm not sure I would bet on them to make the playoffs at this stage. I don't know if they've got enough. But then, to your point, you start to look at all the other teams in the wild card race. And this is, a function of having such a big postseason the way baseball does now. I would challenge anybody who's saying the Cardinals are not good enough to look at those teams and say, if you were a fan of one of those teams, would you feel 100% confident or 90% confident that they're going to make it into the playoffs? Every team in that race has real flaws. Now, I still think it's a little less likely than not that the Cardinals make the playoffs. I think they'll probably end up on the outside looking in, but they are far from I don't think it is remotely outside the realm of possibility. I mean, they're one game out right now, and we wouldn't put it past them to play just as well or better the rest of the way than they've played so far.
Yeah, there are a couple things. First of all, I definitely agree with you. It's hard to explain, not like word for word, but I agree with your premise. I do. But I'll circle back on a couple things, not push back, but circle back. For example, the Cardinals hit that rough pocket there, getting beat up by the Brewers. Okay. And all of a sudden you look up and you're like, whoa, they're 3 games out of the number 3 wild card spot. Whoa. All of a sudden it's 3 games. Well, after saying that for a couple days and like, well, now they're like you mentioned earlier, they're only a game out. They've already shaved 2 games off of that deficit. The other thing is this. I think that the Brewers, what they have done to the Cardinals this year, the first 10 times the teams have met, the Brewers have won 8 times. And I don't think there's an excuse for getting beaten up that bad by the Brewers. I mean, I think if you have a losing record against them, it's understandable. But the Cardinals, basically got slapped around by the Brewers. It's pretty ugly. All right. However, if you subtract all the games against the Brewers, right? The Cardinals are 11 games over 500 against everybody else. And if the Brewers are again on the list of the top 5 best teams in baseball, we know again the Brewers beat the Cardinals up. But the other 4 teams that they're in the top 5 in winning percentage, the Dodgers, the Rays, the Braves, and the Cubs, the Cardinals are 13-5 against them. And the amazing thing is they've played 6 series against those 4 teams, Dodgers, Rays, Braves, and Cubs, and they've won all 6 series. So I don't know. And what I'm saying, Nate, is like, are we collectively letting the fact that the Brewers, the one really good team that has made the Cardinals look bad, are we letting that kind of skew our opinion and kind of taint our feelings about the Cardinals and maybe attaching too much significance to that, given their track record against other very, very, very good teams in Major League Baseball?
Bernie, I think those are all such good points. I really appreciate your perspective and you bringing it to us today. Thanks for joining a little bit early.
Yeah, man.
And say a goodbye to Kyle Sixto on his way out.
Well, I've told him, listen, it has been a joy to work with him. He's really good. I don't know what he's got planned exactly, but whatever he does, he's going to be a success. He's a class act. He's smart. He handles pressure well. He's reliable. Got a great personality. No, I'm a big fan.
He's going to be infiltrating the Chicagoland area again on behalf of Cardinals fans. So he's got big plans.
That sounds good.
Bernie,
thank you, man.
Have a
good
great
to be
night.
with you. See you, buddy.
Bernie Miklasz joining us here on KMOX. St. Louis Billikens men's soccer coach Kevin Kalish will be coming up next, reflecting a little bit back to last season and the Bills College Cup run and looking ahead to the season that is to come. That'll start in just about a month. That schedule came out last week. We'll talk about the makeup of the Billikens schedule, the Billikens roster, and what to expect out of the men's St. Louis team in 2026. That's coming up on KMOX.
Well, it's official. My friends have all switched to Pure Talk because I told them they could save a bunch of money on a super reliable high-speed network with unlimited data. And because they're my friends, they trust me. As for the rest of you, well, Pure Talk understands that even though you might like me, you're not just going to take my word for it, nor should you. For that reason, and for a very limited time, Pure Talk is offering any of their plans for just $15 a month for the first 3 months, including their top-tier unlimited plan that normally sells for $65 a month. Think of it like a test drive, a super simple way to save $150 while you kick the tires on Pure Talk's blazing fast network, and a fine way to see for yourself why I switched from big wireless, along with a few 100,000 of my closest friends. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and be connected to Pure Talk's friendly U.S. customer service team. Again, dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and let the savings begin.
You work hard, follow the rules, and get absolutely slammed by taxes. Your paycheck, taxed. Your property, taxed. Everything you buy, taxed. Missouri's tax system isn't broken, it's rigged against you. The lawyers and lobbyists working for big corporations and the super rich buried over 200 loopholes for themselves in our tax code. While they pay nothing on the services they use, working families are taxed over and over. It's no wonder they're lying about Amendment 5. Our corrupt tax system is rigged in their favor. They're getting a free ride on your back. Don't believe their lies. The truth is, Amendment 5 closes loopholes exploited by the super rich and slashes taxes paid by Missouri's working families, phasing out income taxes and cutting property taxes. They finally pay what they owe while you keep what you earn. Vote yes on Amendment 5. Paid for by Missouri Promise PAC.
Men, if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, you're not alone. Most importantly, you don't have to live with it. Paramount Men's Medical Center restores men's sex lives in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, even when Viagra and Cialis don't work. Here's Dr. Simovitz, specialist in men's health.
Paramount Men's Medical Center's painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. 98% of patients see instant results right in the office.
Men are now lasting longer than they ever imagined. And the best part, At Paramount Men's Medical Center, your consultation and first treatment are free. Qualified patients even get their testosterone checked free. Call 314-720-8444. 314-720-8444. Take control of your sex life. Call now. 314-720-8444.
You know, here in St. Louis, word of mouth still matters, and I'm pretty careful about who I recommend, especially when it comes to something as personal as estate planning. I'm Tom Ackerman. My family has been working with the Lederman Law Firm for over 20 years now, and the reason is simple. They don't just create documents and send you on your way. They help make sure your plan works. Because let's be honest, life changes. Family needs and circumstances change. Laws change. But most estate plans don't change over time as needs, circumstances, and laws change. They're outdated, sitting in a drawer. People assume they're fine, and their plan will work when they need it to work. At the Lederman Law Firm, it's not a one-time transaction. It's an ongoing process. They build a plan to protect your family and your assets, and then for a fixed annual fee, they help keep it up to date as both your life and assets change. Check out the Lederman Law Firm at LedermanLaw.com or give them a call at 314-514-9100. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance. And now we're customizing this rush hour ad to keep you calm, which could help your driving. And science says therapy is great for a healthy mindset. So enjoy this 14-second session on us. I think you've done everything right and absolutely nothing wrong. In fact, anything that hasn't gone your way could probably be blamed on your father not being emotionally available because his father wasn't emotionally available, and so on. And now that you're calm and healing, you're probably driving better too.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
For all station contest rules, go to KMOX.com/rules.
We continue this evening on Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX. Nate Gatter back with you in for Matt Pauley. It's time for the first of a couple Billiken soccer conversations we're going to have tonight. The first with men's soccer head coach Kevin Kalish, fresh off the Billikens in the College Cup a year ago for the first time since he was a Billikens player, and now trying to build on that in 2026. Coach, how you doing? Well, we're working on making sure we can hear Coach Kalish, but it is a very, very impressive.
Yeah, I apologize about accidentally hit the mute button. But
there you go.
Appreciate that.
We got you. We appreciate you. I mean, I was about to start talking about it and stealing your thunder. You know, it's not easy to build on a College Cup when it had been so long, and obviously it's not fair on any team to say that it's College Cup or bust. Certainly that's not what I'm saying. But in the effort of trying to use that momentum positively, the way you do that is in recruiting and looking at the newcomers on this class, in particular the transfer players and their accolades. It is incredible the pull that this program has always had, but that only gets magnified by playing on the College Cup stage.
Yeah, definitely riding on some momentum here with the program these last handful of years. I think we've been building, obviously doing a lot of good work for the last 4 or 5 years and really making a lot of strides. And obviously we broke through last year with the College Cup run, and we're excited to keep building, and obviously our goal is to bring that 11th national title home to SLU. But the transfer, our class this year was one that again we had to target a few key positions that that left. That a lot of the guys left last year who graduated on, and feel really good about the guys that are going to be coming in. We got a few really good freshmen. Lucas McPartland is a St. Louis guy who's been playing with St. Louis City too these last year and a half, and a lot of the transfers that came in from other programs came in January, so we were able to work with them this spring, and excited for the group. They're joining an existing core group of guys that I think are ready to again have another great year.
Yeah, just to give people a little taste of that. You mentioned Lucas McPartland here in the St. Louis area and was representing the United States at the Under-20 CONCACAF Championship, playing with the U20 United States national team. On the back line, Luke Adams, who was first-team All-American Conference at Tulsa and a draft pick of Charlotte FC this year. In the midfield, you've got Guilherme Gomes, who was Big East Freshman of the Year at St. John's last season. I mean, these are really incredible resumes that some of these guys are bringing in already, having established themselves, not to mention the returning players and some younger guys on top of that. Did you notice especially maybe with the transfer guys who know what they're looking for and have a little more experience at this level. Did you notice those conversations were a bit different this year, having the College Cup platform to stand on?
Yeah, look, it always makes they always make the conversation a bit easier, and I think when I'll tell you their biggest selling point is when they get on campus, they talk to our players and they see the environment that St. Louis University is about, right? That it's an unbelievable program and an unbelievable environment for our players to grow and develop in, to be not only become professionals, but be great humans and also get a great education. And they see all the support behind the soccer programs at SLU, and again, they want to be a part of it. So if you're a high level player in the college game, there's no better place to play than St. Louis University. It's got great fan support and again, just a great legacy that I think everybody values. So definitely overall, it was. I feel like we definitely made some strides in the recruiting department. I think we found some gems that can come in and make some immediate impact.
Kevin Kalish, head coach of the St. Louis Billikens men's soccer team, is with us on Gray Bar Sports Open Line this evening. Coach, I don't want to, belabor anything. I'm sure you and your staff and your program are ready to look forward to 2026. But you and I haven't had the chance to talk since December and the College Cup. When you reflect back on last season, now having the benefit of several months of distance, what comes to the front of your mind?
Honestly, just the journey. I think that the resiliency in the group. I think it was a group that just continued to get better and better as the season wore on. I think it was a group that kind of found its role clarity and identity as well. Kind of as we moved forward in the postseason, different guys stepped up. We played different lineups with each game late in the season. Everybody was all in for the group. But I think when you can get a bunch of guys that have high character, that are great teammates, that are unbelievable competitors. The magic really kind of comes to life in the locker room, and I think we were really fortunate. We had some great individuals in our locker room, some great leaders, and you put all that together. You need some breaks to go your way, but really proud of the overall performance from the entire team.
Looking ahead to this season, you guys will get started with regular season games, not counting the couple of exhibitions, in a little bit over a month. August the 20th, a Thursday evening game at Herman Stadium against Seattle. It's a non-conference schedule that is challenging, as always, highlighted at home by Seattle, SMU, Green Bay, and Akron. On the road against Notre Dame and across the state line in the battle for the Bronze Boot against SIUE. What stands out to you about the non-conference schedule and the way you put it together this year?
Yeah, look, it's pretty consistent with what our strategy has been from a scheduling perspective in previous years. I think our goal is always to be a top. We set ourselves as try to be a top 30 RPI team at the end of each season. That way, if for some reason we would stub our toe in the conference tournament, we'd be a selection for the an NCAA at-large bid, which we did in 24. And so you need to find the right balance of home and away. You got to find teams that can win games. You obviously got to find some quad one games that we think, as well. And, you never know because you're scheduling a year or two in advance. But, we really liked how the schedule came out. We got some really good, fun, exciting matches at Herman, obviously with SMU, ACC champion last year coming to Herman. And then obviously the rematch with Akron in the NCAA quarterfinal game. Should be some really exciting matches. And, we're excited to get started against Seattle.
10 home games on the schedule. And for anybody who doesn't know, the price of a season ticket is $60 for an adult, $25 for a child 18 or younger. $60 for a 10-game season ticket. I think that pretty much makes the pitch in and of itself. But beyond that, if you were pitching anyone on why they should get Billikens men's soccer season tickets, what is it?
Look, it's an unbelievable entertainment value, like you mentioned, from an unbelievable cost, perspective. I think you're seeing a lot. Our team last couple of years, they're a fun group to watch. They're old school in the sense that they roll up their sleeves, they do the work, they work well together as a team, and again, they find ways to win games. And I think the success of the men's and women's programs these last couple of years has just been phenomenal. It's a fun night out. I'd love to have you bring the family, and we look forward to your continued support.
Well, Coach, this whole area was beaming with pride for you guys, as you went all the way to the College Cup last year. I can't wait for another season. Best of luck, and our best wishes to all the guys.
Thanks so much for having me.
Kevin Kalish, head coach of the St. Louis Billikens men's soccer program, joining us here on KMOX. And I have to mention as well, and we'll touch on it again when we visit with Katie Shields in our second hour, the head coach of the Billiken women's program, that those season tickets are also very affordable. And in fact, SLU bundles all of them. You can buy a fall sport pass, which is season tickets for men's soccer, women's soccer, and volleyball. And it's $105 for every home game for all three of those programs put together. Those are available on SLUBillikens.com. A fantastic value. I mean, I've talked a lot about how men's basketball season tickets are really good value. I am a season ticket holder to Billikens men's basketball, but I think soccer and the fall sport pass probably give that a run for its money as well. And looking forward to talking to Katie Shields in our second hour, who is always a delight and has had a huge amount of success at St. Louis University as well. We'll take a break and wrap up our first hour when we return on KMOX.
When legacy automation starts impacting visibility and downtime, it may be time to consider modernization. Graybar's automation specialists work alongside your team to help you identify risks and map out realistic upgrade paths without unnecessary disruptions. Get started with a free health check of your operations and see what's possible. Yep, Graybar does that.
Siteman Cancer Center Spotlight discussing sarcomas with Dr. Angela Herbie.
In small groups of patients, there is an inherited genetic risk, but this is the vast minority of patients. And we typically identify these groups of individuals because of numerous family members having these rare cancers, and many of them being young. When I say young, anybody under the age of 40.
Thanks to Siteman Cancer Center, national leaders in cancer. For more information, visit siteman.washu.edu.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Honey, did you invite the minions over?
Well, you know how we talked about getting Wi-Fi from Xfinity?
Yeah.
I ordered it this morning, was online in minutes, then they showed up.
So they just came over to use the Wi-Fi? For what?
Better not to know.
Get online in minutes with same-day Wi-Fi from Xfinity. Plus, lock in your price for 5 years and see Minions and Monsters only in theaters. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Not available in all areas. Learn more at xfinity.com/same-day Wi-Fi.
If you're having a major project done at your house, it can be a long process. It can be kind of tedious or frustrating, and hopefully, though, when it's all done, you can stand back and look and think, oh my gosh, this is an incredible improvement. Sometimes it doesn't work that way, though, if you choose the wrong company. That's why I'm telling you that if you're thinking about a major project in your outdoor space, even a minor project, call Chesterfield Fence and Deck, because Chesterfield Fence and Deck is the sign you have the very best. They only use the highest quality products. They have their own installation crews with years of experience. That is extremely important. And Chesterfield Fence and Deck has been around for 58 years, a quality company, and they offer value. They're not going to be your cheapest bid, but they're going to be the best, and it's going to last for years to come, so you can stand back and think, money well spent. They'll offer you 48 months interest-free financing if you mention me, Debbie Monterey. Stop by and visit them, or visit them online right now at chesterfieldfence.com. Chesterfield Fence and Deck.
I'm with Mark Cantor of Cantor Injury Law. And Mark, why is it so important for you to be a local law firm?
Well, being local means more than just advertising here, more than just a billboard on the highway. It means showing up here. It means supporting local events and local charities.
But why is local so important?
It's important because we know the law, we know the judges, we know the roads, and we understand the community.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising.
You can count on Cantor. Visit CantorInjuryLaw.com.
Cardinals fans, this is Ricky Horton. Have you ever had a dream of meeting your favorite former Cardinals? You can make those dreams come true all season long with St. Louis Cardinals alumni experiences. You can join me and other former Cardinals players at events including Cardinals Conversations, Fans at Bat, Turn 2 with Ozzy, Cardinals Kids Clinics, and Cardinals Fantasy Camps. Don't miss your chance to make lifelong memories. Visit cardinals.com/alumni for more information.
If you're craving baseball conversations about your favorite players, alumni, and franchise memories, you'll love that Cardinals Magazine is dedicated to the stories that matter most to you. From Gold Gloves to championship rings, from the Wizard and Willie to Albert, Yachty, Uncle Charlie, and well beyond. Their careers define our pages. Treat yourself or a friend to a subscription today at cardinals.com/magazine. Cardinals Magazine, past, present, and future, it's all here.
Broadcasting from the Scott Credit Union Studio, 104.1 FM, KMOX. One city, one voice, KMOX, the voice of St. Louis.
Sometimes you just get on the hamster wheel. You just get stuck in a circle. It could be your cul-de-sac. You could be in a rut, whatever metaphor you want to use. And you just talk about the same things over and over and over and over again. And I think living in a town like this, where we love the Cardinals so much, and where we talk about them, including on this station, so much every day, we have 2 hours of pretty much Cardinals exclusive content. Gas House Gang isn't always. Then we have 2 hours of Sports Open Line, which, especially during baseball season, is almost all Cardinals. So we're probably doing on this station, depending on the day, 2 to 4 hours of Cardinals every day. Let's call it an average of 3 hours. As a result, especially during the All-Star break, when no games have happened, other than the All-Star game and the Home Run Derby, which we did get a lot of mileage out of the Home Run Derby compared to a typical year with Jordan Walker winning it. But as a result, we end up recycling some of the same topics or getting caught up on the same topics and belaboring them. And so I'm going to give Kyle Sixta a producer's most difficult job, which is to give me a Cardinals topic that is interesting and relevant, but that we have not yet discussed in the last 3 days.
I actually saw something on Twitter over the past couple minutes that I found was interesting and I think is worth talking about. I saw a post on Twitter. I wanted to shout out TJ Stats. They do a bunch of good stuff. And I saw remaining strength of schedule in 2026 for the remainder of the second half. And the Cardinals rank 22nd in Major League Baseball. So that is the 8th easiest schedule for the remaining portion of the season. Number 1 is the Milwaukee Brewers. Number 6, the Chicago Cubs. Number 7, the Pittsburgh Pirates. And number 8 is the Cincinnati Reds. And this, of course, is going off of 2026's winning percentages. So you look at the rest of the division in comparison to the Cardinals, and they certainly have a leg up in terms of the ease of their schedule. I'm not saying they're going to storm the division and win, over the Brewers. But you also look at some other teams that they're chasing. I mean, the Marlins are 5th in there. The Pirates, they're battling with them. The Reds, they're battling with them. The only 2 teams that are have an easier strength of schedule that the Cardinals are competing with for the wild card are the Padres and the Diamondbacks. And both of them are behind the Cardinals right now.
And the Cardinals, of course, are going to see a lot of the Diamondbacks between now and the deadline.
Yes,
so they have a little bit of control in terms of how they're going to be positioned just in how the next couple of weeks go. That's very interesting. It was interesting-ish just that the Cardinals had the 8th easiest schedule the rest of the way by current winning percentage. It's very interesting when you contrast it against the other 4 National League Central teams, all being in the top 8 most difficult schedules. And then, for good measure, you add in a couple of those other teams that are in the National League wildcard mix, which is a lot of teams. But to the point of the conversation that you and I had yesterday and that we were having a little bit with Bernie Miklas earlier in this hour, those teams are all going to have flaws, right? You go look at especially the teams that are right behind the Cardinals. I don't know that you name a single one of those teams and the Cardinals are quaking, nor do I think if you went to a single one of those markets are people feeling especially confident, right? You only have to go a few teams down to the Washington Nationals, who are under 500 by a game right now, but are still not in the thick of, but certainly very much in the race. They're 4 games out of the last wild card spot right now. So they are in position to get into position, if you will. They are certainly in the mix still. And those teams are not feeling like world beaters. So I do think there's a good path there for the Cardinals, and that's even before realizing what a discrepancy there was in schedule. And so it does show you how important, and it's one of the reasons this is a great 2-week stretch. To me, this is why I think the dog days of August are really a thing, is because they fall in between what feels like the last 2 weeks of the first season, if you will. We talk about the first half ending at the All-Star break, which is already funny because we played more than half of the season, but the first half ending at the All-Star break, to me, really, the spiritual first half ends at the deadline because that's when you lock stuff in. That's when teams are locked in to their rosters, but also more or less to their mentalities for the rest of the season. Some teams sell and the pressure drops all the way off. Some teams buy, especially if it's a risky buy, the pressure turns way up because now you can't miss the playoffs. You got to position yourself to do something with the money or prospect capital or both that's just been spent here at the deadline. In most cases, prospect capital, but sometimes it's long-term money too if you're committing to a guy who has a less than stellar contract or something like that as part of the deal. And so then August comes around and you're not yet feeling what's really the crunch time of the season in September, but you get past this kind of adrenaline dump that is the deadline when all that tension builds and then it resolves itself at the deadline, at least in terms of who's going to go what direction. That's all declared then by the first week of August, and things just sort of drag a little bit in that time. To me, these next couple of weeks are really, really fun, and for a team like the Cardinals, that is hugely true. Because, again, to my point, I don't think he's rooting for this or anybody's rooting for it, but the simplest way this could go for Chaim Bloom is the Cardinals come out and lose like 7 of their next 9 games and just play themselves right out of the race, and he's clearly taking good deals that are available to him at the deadline, even if it means hurting the team the rest of this season. The other way, the Cardinals would, to Bernie's point, put some pressure on Chaim Bloom to say, you at least can't strip this team down, and if you can, it'd be nice to try to find a way to support them. And I do think, although I'm not going to beat my chest and get angry about really anything that happens at the deadline, certainly not about any marginal selling that might happen at the deadline, I do think there's something to be said for reinforcing with this young core that if you play this well, if you exceed expectations, we will take note, and within reason, we will do what we can to support you and be there in the fight with you. Whether that's ownership, the front office, whomever it is, we're going to get in there in the boat with you and we're going to row, rather than doing anything that would undermine that chase of trying to get to the postseason. Second hour still to come. News next on KMOX.
Time now for today's Spotlight on Tech, sponsored by Ethos.
IBM is leading a project in which scientists are using quantum computers to optimize the production and extraction of tritium, which is crucial for the production of fusion energy. IBM teamed with scientists from the Oak Ridge National Laboratory and the Cleveland Clinic to calculate 9 molecular configurations of tritium, with the hope of extracting enough supply of the material to obtain clean energy from fusion power plants. I'm Jason Brooks.
If you own a business, you've heard it all. From fast funding to easy approvals, everyone says the same thing. LendSeek is different. We show you what you actually qualify for. LendSeek's AI-enabled platform matches you with funding options with no guesswork. Up to $5 million in as fast as 24 hours. If you've been in business over a year, doing at least $50,000 per month, apply for free with zero out-of-pocket costs and access to over 100 lenders. Start ready, stay ready. LendSeek.com. LendSeek.com.
You feel it every time you check out. Prices up, paychecks stretched, families squeezed. That's why Ann Wagner's fighting to get government off your back and out of your way. Wagner passed the largest tax cut in American history, expanded child tax credits, ended taxes on tips, overtime, and Social Security. And Wagner is working to lower costs so families keep more of their hard-earned money. But Ann Wagner knows delivering from Missouri means more than just protecting their wallets. It means protecting our streets as well. That's why Wagner fought to secure our border, deport dangerous illegal aliens, partner with law enforcement, and put predators behind bars and off our streets so our neighborhoods and communities stay safe. Because real effective leadership protects what matters most: your money, your family, your safety. Ann Wagner for Congress.
I'm Ann Wagner, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Ann Wagner for Congress.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have a health reminder from the CDC.
Pneumococcal vaccination is recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
This month's Siteman Cancer Center Spotlight, bone cancer. Dr. Angela Herbie.
New pain that's persistent and unexplained, or any lump that's bigger than the size of a golf ball should raise concern and trigger someone to talk to their doctor. And if you notice a lump, this is especially true if that lump is starting to grow and change size quickly, as in over weeks.
Thanks to Siteman Cancer Center, national leaders in cancer. For more information, visit siteman.washu.edu.
America is turning 250 this year, and Circa Sports is celebrating by offering all users in Missouri $250. For everyone in Missouri, all you have to do is deposit $250 on your Circa Sports app, then play through that deposit. Once you do, Circa Sports will reward you with $250 right in your account. This is available for everyone in Missouri, new and existing users. Celebrate 250 years and find out more at circasports.com today. Must be 21 or older and in Missouri. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
News, talk, cards. KMOX AM St. Louis. KMOX FM. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
ABC News, I'm Mike Dubusky. U.S. forces renewed their strikes on Iran today, and now officials in both Bahrain and Kuwait are reporting they're being hit by retaliatory strikes from Iran. ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers has what President Trump's position is.
We heard from the president in an interview that he did with Fox News. The president, again, putting that threat on the table to go after infrastructure in Iran. The president also had told Fox News that he wants to see Israeli forces get out of southern Lebanon and to see the Syrian government get more involved. He said that if the Israeli troops had left there, it could free up the U.S. and Israel to focus more on this situation right now with Iran.
Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche answering questions on Capitol Hill today as lawmakers consider whether to make his position permanent. And nearly 60 counties in Texas are under disaster declarations right now as the state deals with severe rain and flooding. This is ABC News. Minnesota regulators are accepting public comments now on a proposed nickel mine northeast of Mill Locks Lake that has drawn opposition. California's DMV thinks thousands of drivers may have cheated.
Thousands of drivers here in California are being told they have to retake their written driving tests because a DMV suspects them of cheating. The DMV sent around 11,000 drivers letters saying their tests showed irregularities. The LA Times reports that the DMV identified patterns in the results of driver knowledge tests indicating that some test takers may have taken part in cheating methods. The DMV won't confirm that or explain more. An unspecified number of those cases have been referred to prosecutors for possible charges, according to the LA Times. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Portions of more than a dozen states are under air quality alerts right now as wildfire smoke from Canada crosses over the border. And the Atlantic Coast Conference is changing its tiebreaker format for the championship. I'm Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
At 7:02, we've got sunshine. It's 87 degrees downtown at the Arch. After a mass shooting spree involving family members Sunday across East St. Louis, the community is responding.
16-year-old Jameer Davis is charged as an adult with 5 counts of murder, 2 counts of attempted murder, and defacing a body after cutting the thumb off of one of his victims after he and his 15-year-old juvenile accomplice went on a mass shooting spree across East St. Louis Sunday. Illinois State Police Public Service Coordinator Dr. Anita Bazil.
If you need help, again, in emergency 988, or you can call any local
not-for-profit. Councilman Lavando Poli says despite this tragedy, crime is dropping significantly in East St. Louis.
They've gotten hundreds of guns and ammo off of the streets of East St. Louis. Our crime rate has went down the lowest it's been ever in 45 years.
Outside the St. Clair County Courthouse, Sean Malone, KMOX News.
An ATF and law enforcement initiative, Don't Lie for the Other Guy, zeroes in on people who purchase firearms on behalf of others, known as straw buyers. But KMOX wanted to know about those sellers that are not on the up and up. ATF agent Butch Hansen.
Is it pretty widespread?
That's hard for me to say. I believe, and this is just me personally, that most gun dealers, the large, vast majority, want to do the right thing. They care about the public. We work with them on a regular basis. Like, they help us. If they see something that's wrong, regardless of the state, they are in contact with ATF.
KMOX asked about punishment for unscrupulous dealers, and Hansen says if they're putting out hundreds of guns illegally, then the U.S. attorney gets involved. A St. Louis County councilman is speaking out after what he says was a bomb threat that was made against a mosque in West County last week. Councilman Dennis Hancock, a Republican who's running for county executive, says a threat was made against the Islamic Foundation off Weidman Road in Baldwin.
I don't know how to say this any stronger than to say this behavior is completely unacceptable and should not be tolerated by anyone who calls themselves an American.
Hancock says many of the mosque's members are U.S. citizens or working to become citizens. Resorts and businesses in the Steelville and Lesterville areas are cleaning up quickly, hoping to welcome campers and floaters back after last weekend's historic flash flooding. Governor Kehoe says he was proud of everybody who jumped into action.
Sure, we did 360 rescues. 106 of those were water rescues. Wow. It's mainly a two-county area, and it was obviously low-lying areas. There were some property damage, fence damage, livestock lost, obviously.
Unfortunately, one death, a woman who was swept away by the floodwaters. Kehoe says he's currently assessing what state and federal help could be made available. The House has passed a bill to make daylight saving time permanent across the country. Eric Herzog studies the biology of daily rhythms at WashU. He tells our Chris and Amy there is an alternate bill in the House called SOCA, stands for Sunshine for Our Kids Act.
The idea is that kids waiting in the morning for their school bus on daylight saving time are waiting in the dark. And in 1974, unfortunately, 4 children were killed while waiting for the bus in daylight saving time. And that's what ended the permanent daylight saving time experiment in 1974.
Herzog says if everybody would wake up naturally, it'd be more beneficial, and that would come with standard time. Forecast for the overnight hours, clear sky, low 74. For tomorrow's sunshine, not extreme heat, but more humidity, and a few pop storms too, high 93 degrees, 75 for tomorrow night. And for Friday's sunshine, few pop storms, afternoon into the evening, high 93. And much of the same for Saturday and Sunday, minus the pop storms. Right now, we've got sunshine. It's 87 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Welcome back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on KMOX.
Just kidding. Nate Gatter in for Matt Pauley. It's my third and final evening filling in for Matt during the All-Star break. Matt will be back after the break on Friday to resume normal programming as the Cardinals do coming out of the All-Star break. We appreciate you being with us. Producer Kyle Sixta is alongside. We continue on this Gray Bar Sports Open Line. During our first hour, we chatted with Bernie Miklas talking about the Cardinals. We also discussed SLU men's soccer, their recruiting class and upcoming season that will start on August the 20th, at least the regular season schedule, and some of the teams on that schedule with head coach Kevin Kalish. You can go back and hear any of that, or you can listen to the remainder of this hour, tomorrow night's St. Louis City soccer game on our sister station Y98, or the Cardinals when they resume on Friday, all on the free Odyssey app, AUDACY. You can leave us a voice message there. We can play on the air. You can call us at 314-436-7900. That's 314-436-7900. You can leave a comment on any of our streams on YouTube, on Facebook, on X. All available to you. We will visit in this second hour with Dan Reardon coming up in under 10 minutes. KMOX golf analyst talking about the Open Championship, which will tee off in just under 5.5 hours now, 12:35 a.m. local time here in St. Louis. They will tee off at Royal Birkdale in Southport, England, northwest of the country, about 3 miles up the coast north of Liverpool. In the United Kingdom, and they will get underway there 12:35 local time. I think the last tee times are closer to 10 a.m.-ish Central Time, so they will be playing into the afternoon here locally in St. Louis, the first of 4 rounds of the Open Championship, and they no longer have to worry about the possibility of a Sunday final round overlapping against an England appearance in the World Cup final, because England were knocked out by a late equalizer and then an even later winner from Argentina earlier today. So Argentina and Spain will play in the Sunday afternoon World Cup final. Later on in this hour, we'll talk to Katie Shields, head coach of the St. Louis Billikens women's team, covering many of those same topics we did with Kevin Kalish on the men's side, albeit from the women's perspective. They have a loaded non-conference schedule, 5 power conference opponents, including 2 of them coming to Hermann Stadium, always part of their conversation that they need to load up there because they don't get the same caliber of Atlantic 10 competition that the men's team does, because the Atlantic 10 women's conference is just not as good as the men's soccer programs are, and so they need those if they're going to have a chance at an at-large bid, meaning they need those power conference teams in the non-conference to build their resume such that even without winning the A-10, they could make it to an NCAA tournament. I want to touch on one sort of Cardinals-ish topic here before we get into break and then talk to Dan Reardon about the Open Championship, which is that I saw a story from the Sports Business Journal today. And this is a little bit of an odd way to phrase it, and they're doing it sort of to gerrymander it a little bit, but that's not super important. The overall takeaway is what's important. The tweet said, MLB continues to thrive locally. 75% of World Cup matches trailed MLB's aggregate local audience. What they're getting at here is that although Major League Baseball during the regular season does not do especially good national television numbers relative to other major sports in the U.S., where Major League Baseball does really, really well, especially as compared to the NBA and the NHL, the 2 sports most similar to it in the local markets and the way local television is distributed, is in local TV ratings. Major League Baseball is a regional sport that is consumed regionally at very high levels, in particular in regions like this one where it is very popular. People tend to watch a lot of games of their own team on their own local channel with their own local broadcast all season long. They don't tend to tune in that often to national games, national broadcasts that don't feature their team. A little bit. Obviously, people watch those. They're still profitable entities, and people watch them. But not nearly in the same numbers as you see for the NBA. And obviously for the NFL, but that's kind of a separate thing. But if you measure MLB viewership the way it really happens most often, which is by aggregating all of the local viewership and looking at that as a collective, how many people across the country are watching Major League Baseball on a regular basis, the number is very, very high. They're just watching it in a fragmented way on 30 different broadcasts in 30 different markets on any given night, rather than all watching the same national television broadcast at the same time. And that is one of the reasons that MLB wants to pool its television rights, including its local television rights, and sell them as a single entity in much the way the NFL does, pooling its rights as a league rather than individual teams selling off their local rights separately. Part of that is also that MLB wants more control over the revenue so that they can then distribute that revenue more evenly rather than the wealthiest, biggest market teams commanding the highest TV rates and developing a huge comparative advantage over the rest of the league. That is part of it. But part of it is also that they can command more collectively than they can separately, because if you can put all of those broadcasts, all local telecasts, with the same entity behind a single paywall with no blackouts, say if ESPN Plus or some similar entity could have all non-national exclusive MLB games for every single team for one single monthly or seasonal price with no blackouts, that becomes very, very, very valuable, because the number of people collectively watching Major League Baseball around the country, if you put all of those broadcasts together as a bundle, is much, much higher than the number of people watching any specific national broadcast on a specific channel at one time. So, more evidence that Major League Baseball, as an in-person product certainly, and as a television product as well, is doing much better than you've probably been led to believe. and doing much better relative to the NBA and NHL than you might expect if you haven't done a lot of reading about it. We'll talk about golf, a sport that is exploding in recent years during and since COVID. Talk about the Open Championship, the 154th playing with Dan Reardon after this.
And the match is about to begin.
Most of the team is out with COVID-19, so there'll be some substitutes tonight.
What's this? We have an unexpected guest on the field.
It's a dog. Well, they could do with extra players.
She's going for the ball.
Are front paws hands or feet?
Soccer season is full of surprises, and COVID-19 could be one of them. If you test positive, prescription medications may help. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Learn more at PfizerForAll.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft.
Oh, no.
That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If we find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes to your financial accounts, we alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that could make all the difference. Save up to 30% with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
When you retire, the paycheck from your job will likely stop. But here's what won't stop: bills, taxes, and medical issues. Sure, there's Social Security, but that may not be enough. Steve All and his team at the All Financial Group can show you potential ways to develop a new stream of income that can last as long as you live. Kind of like having your own personal pension. You won't have to worry about whether the market is up or down or who's sitting in the White House. You can spend your time instead on the things that matter, like family, friends, and doing the things you never had time to do before. Call Steve All today at 636-230-8824. That's 636-230-8824, and schedule a custom income review at no charge. Or find us online at yourmoneymattersstl.com. Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. Neither the firm nor its agents or representatives may give tax or legal advice.
And Doug. Limu and I created a trick to help you remember that you can customize your car insurance and save with Liberty Mutual. You see, the shirts Limu and I wear are yellow, and yellow is the color of lemons, and lemons grow on trees, and trees provide oxygen, and oxygen helps us breathe, and breathing is how you live, and you can live more life when you save money by customizing your car insurance. I agree, Limu. It's really quite simple. Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Tax Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free no-risk consultation. 800-284-1238. 800-284-1238. You have nothing to lose but everything to gain. 800-284-1238.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint by a lot, backed with our 25-year transferable warranty. Paint a house, shield a home. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, steel, aluminum, cedar, and more. We are the only coating company selected by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where all 3 episodes concentrate on unpainted brick. If you maintain or own a business with a tired-looking building, you owe it to yourself to look at Rhino Shield and our beautifully durable color schemes. Evaluations are free. We're making buildings pop and be noticed again, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks, exceeding expectations every day with our products, people, and performance. Now is the time to call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or go to 877-25rhino.com and see how honest and transparent we really are. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. KMOX, the voice of St. Louis.
It's almost Open Championship time. We're just over 5 hours away from the Open Championship teeing off 12:35 a.m. Central Time. The first group will go out at Royal Birkdale in the northwest of England for the 154th playing of the Open Championship. And KMOX golf analyst Dan Reardon is with us now to talk about it. Dan, how are you?
I'm doing fine, and thanks for the invitation, Nate.
Oh, happy to have you. It's becoming our annual tradition around this time. Quiet evenings during the All-Star break. Perfect opportunity to talk about maybe the greatest tournament in all of golf. So are you, what are the plans tonight in the Reardon household? Like, are you staying all the way up? Is this an all-nighter situation? Are you going to bed early and getting up like 3 or 4 when some of the featured groups start to go out? How do you attack this?
I will pick it up on the fly. I'm passionate about golf, but 1 a.m., 2 a.m. golf is not on my usual agenda. Maybe on a Sunday round, but we fortunately don't have to deal with it because Sunday they all go off about 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock Midwest time. So no, I'll treat this normally. But I will tell you about this championship. I'm excited for this championship because for an Open Championship, we don't have a script for this one. You know, typically we know it's going to be colder, it's going to be windier, it's going to be rainy, or a variety of circumstances. And we know the course is a little bit. But we don't have any of that right now. Birkdale has hosted 10 championships, a lot of history there, and a Hall of Fame list of winners. But we don't have weather. I mean, they could be playing in San Diego, and that would be the weather they would be having. There's no wind forecast, 10 miles an hour at the most. It hasn't rained there in several weeks. I've had the Southport weather on my phone for that period of time. The course is brown right now, baked solid. The rough, which is tall and wispy, is not thick at all. It's mostly burned out. And so you have a circumstance with a golf course that was designed to be defended by weather, no longer having those defenses. And so when you talk about who does the course favor, we don't know how it's going to play. We know it's going to be fast. We know it's going to be firm. We don't know what they're going to do with the greens. If they water the greens, we could see some electric kind of scores because of the distances they're going to be hit. But it's great to go into a champion and throw in that we don't have a truly dominant player this year on tour. It's great to go into the final major of the year and have everything almost be an unknown.
You mentioned the conditions as a result of the weather, that it's rather browned out, the course, and not especially lush at the moment. I think the average American viewer, especially an American viewer who watches the majors but is not a golfer themselves, or at least not a serious one, and not somebody who watches on tour week in and week out, I wonder if the average viewer turns that on and says, ooh, the course looks like it's in rough shape, because the American viewer is looking for a resort course where everything is one shade of green or another, except for the beautiful azaleas and the birds are chirping and so on and so forth. And you've got this picturesque setting, but walk me through why that's really not true, why the course is not necessarily in bad shape, even if it's looking a little browned out.
Because of the soil they play it on. This is a seaside course. It's played on a sandy soil. So they don't have sprinklers scattered all the way down the fairway. Green is good is not the philosophy throughout all of Britain, perhaps through all of Europe, but certainly through all of Britain. So the course will be in really, really good shape. I mean, the last time they were at St. Andrews, for 1 year, if you played St. Andrews, they gave you a patch of artificial turf to take out on the golf course with you to play shots from, because they didn't want you creating divots. But they didn't want you to create divots because they don't necessarily grow back as quickly as they would in this country when everything is manicured and treated perfectly. So the course you see will be in wonderful condition. It's just not going to be the kind of course that it was designed to be. You know, it's hard. Here's a simple way to explain this. Going through the interviews prior to the tournament, John Rahm was talking about what he would hit off the tee, and he said, I might hit a lot of 6-irons. And somebody said, well, how far will you hit that? He said, well, on this golf course in these conditions, I can hit a 6-iron 285 yards. Well, I mean, you know, if I'm an American looking at a golf course and I see a guy hitting a ball 285 yards with a 6-iron, it's not in this country, or it has to be at really high altitudes.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's a good point. Dan Reardon, KMOX golf analyst, is with us talking about the Open Championship. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention at least one other thing about the golf course, Royal Birkdale, which is that you mentioned the 10 championships it's hosted. My understanding is that one of them was your first time as a spectator at the Open. What do you remember about that tournament?
What I remember is that on Sunday, they had a brush fire on the golf course because it was dry that year as well, and the fire department had to come in and get rid of it. But what I remember most about that tournament is I had never been to an Open Championship, and they were famous for dropping the ropes behind the leaders on the final day on 18. And I went to get to those ropes in front of the green, maybe two groups before the final group, and I just wanted to see what that was going to be like to be a part of that pandemonium. And I was disappointed that there was nobody really there. And as time went along, it reminded me of the movie The Birds, where the birds kept showing up and showing up and showing up. And by the time Tom Watson got to that tee and teed off, I was surrounded by people, and we charged down that fairway. And I thought I was going to be pushed up onto the green. And the bobbies always said, sit down, sit down. And I was pressed up against the ropes, and we got to within 20 yards of the green, and everybody stopped pushing. That's my memory of that Open Championship.
That's pretty cool. That is special to get to see something like that in person. You mentioned that we don't really have a script for this, so maybe this is an unfair question, but we can't really let this interview come and go without talking about it. Are there players that you have your eye on this week, either because you think they are viable potential winners or because at the very least you just think they're guys who might exceed expectations?
Well, number one under the microscope, I think, will be Scheffler, because people keep waiting for Scotty to pick up a win this year. This will be his last chance to win a major. He is the current champion. And the other thing about Scheffler is he's got a different way of preparing this week because he missed the cut at the Scottish Open. And what did he do after he missed the cut? He went to Southport and started playing the golf course. So Scotty has more preparation on this course than he's had at any major probably in his career. So he becomes interesting. McIlroy, of course, is always going to be interesting because he's the island favorite. Through all of Britain, he's their man. And I guess we have to then throw in the third name is Tommy Fleetwood, because Fleetwood grew up in Southport and admits when he was a youngster, he sneaked onto the golf course to play. So he knows how to play this golf course under any conditions, even the ones that we're seeing now. But actually, nobody is favored because nobody knows exactly how to play this course. If you're long like a DeChambeau, do you play it over the bunkers, the fairway bunkers, and just take your chances because the rough is not intimidating? Or is it somebody like a Brian Harman, who is a very strategic player and plays up short of the bunkers? It's hard to know how this is going to play, and that's a decision every player is going to have to make. Do I get aggressive and go after this? I mentioned it earlier to someone that Tiger Woods in 2006 went to the Open Championship at Hoyle Lake. He never hit a driver except one time on Friday. He won the championship without ever hitting a driver through most of the rounds. That's what we're looking at probably this weekend at Birkdale. And then you look at a guy like Colin Morikawa, who's brilliant with irons in his hand. It's just such a wide open set of circumstances, assuming the greens are not heavily watered. If the greens are heavily watered, they're going to break the scoring record for the Open Championship.
A lot of the top players like to go and play the Scottish Open the week before the Open Championship to get themselves warmed up a little bit to links golf and to the conditions and to all the things that they might expect. But this year, to the point of this conversation, I wonder if that was really worth the airline miles to get out there the week earlier, because they had the more stereotypical kind of UK experience, right? That's not to lump everything in, but they had the more kind of stereotypical links golf experience with the delays for the fog and the weather that affected things. And you're going to get such a different experience at Royal Birkdale this weekend. Do you think that means that players are even less prepared than they might ordinarily be, or at least the American players who haven't played and don't play a lot of links golf are even less prepared than they ordinarily would be because they didn't get a true tune-up under similar conditions?
I think the point is well taken, Nate. I think that's a very good possibility. That's why I mentioned Scheffler being able to get there 2 days earlier than everybody else. I think the stat is since 2010, every Open champion has played in the Scottish Open. That, again, may not be true because, for instance, I'm not sure if Jordan Spieth played at the Scottish Open. And by the way, when you want to consider Birkdale, go back to 2017 when Spieth won there in one of the more memorable Open Championships, and keep that in mind when we get to Sunday, because if people remember Spieth in 2013, he hit this horrendous drive, and he was so far off the fairway that it took him 30 minutes to get rulings and to get a yardage to the green. And he went on to bogey that hole, but after he bogeyed that hole, he went birdie, eagle, birdie, birdie, and he won that Open Championship. You need to know that on the final 9 at Royal Birkdale, there are 2 par 5s. They're the only par 5s on the golf course. So if you make the turn in the lead and there are people 3, 4 shots behind you, you're still not safe coming down the stretch at Birkdale. And the 18th hole I do remember that. While I was lining up on those ropes to watch Tom Watson finish, Watson will tell you that the 4-iron he hit off the tee on that hole was perhaps the best iron shot he had played in his lifetime.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned Jordan Spieth in 2017 at Birkdale, because I think I read that on that particular instance where he had driven himself all the way over to the driving range, he was so far off the path of that hole that when they were figuring out the yardage and everything, that his caddy, Michael Greller, who's been with him forever, gave him the wrong yardage because he was so afraid that Jordan was reeling and was going to go for it all, because that's kind of the Jordan Spieth personality, is that he always believes he can save himself, and a lot of the time he turns out to be right, and he was going to want 3-wood if he knew the real yardage, and so he lied and told him a yardage shorter to make sure he would take his hybrid, and Jordan still hit it right up next to the green.
That's a wonderful story, and it goes to the point that, you know, Jordan has struggled quite a bit in recent years, and he's actually playing better golf right now. But he has not done what many players in his circumstance would do. He hasn't abandoned Michael Greller as his caddy. And don't dismiss the presence of a Greller with Spieth or some of these other caddies as not being a factor as this week goes on. You know, I think one of the reasons Wyndham Clark is the U.S. Open champion is because he changed caddies this year. And the caddy he got was far more professional and far more interested in doing his job than getting camera time. And I think you need to pay attention to the caddies at this Open Championship and see how much they're intruding on play and how much they're just helping to assist in play when needed.
Dan, I appreciate your time as always, and hopefully we'll get to hear a lot more of your thoughts as this Open Championship weekend continues.
I enjoyed it, and again, thanks, Nate.
Dan Reardon, KMOX golf analyst, joining us to discuss the Open Championship getting underway now in almost exactly 5 hours in Southport, England. When we return, we'll shift back to the other England sport, soccer, to talk to Katie Shields, head coach of the St. Louis Billikens women's team, about the gauntlet of a non-conference schedule her team has put together as they try to reestablish themselves as the preeminent Billiken soccer program, dethroned last fall by the men's team going back to the College Cup for the first time since the 90s. What do the women have in store as an answer in 2026? That's next.
You know, here in St. Louis, word of mouth still matters, and I'm pretty careful about who I recommend, especially when it comes to something as personal as estate planning. I'm Tom Ackerman. My family has been working with the Lederman Law Firm for over 20 years now, and the reason is simple. They don't just create documents and send you on your way. They help make sure your plan works. Because let's be honest, life changes. Family needs and circumstances change. Laws change. But most estate plans don't change over time as needs, circumstances, and laws change. They're outdated, sitting in a drawer. People assume they're fine, and their plan will work when they need it to work. At the Lederman Law Firm, it's not a one-time transaction. It's an ongoing process. They build a plan to protect your family and your assets, and then for a fixed annual fee, they help keep it up to date as both your life and assets change. Check out the Lederman Law Firm at LedermanLaw.com or give them a call at 314-514-9100. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
New Game Plus with Oxy makes your laundry smell incredible and fights stubborn smells, like the ones your dog Biscuit brought into your freshly made bed last night. But you wash that all away with Game, and now you're drifting asleep to the scent and sound of waves. Ah, no, that's the dog licking your ear.
Biscuit.
It just might be our greatest scent ever. Now with odor-fighting power. New Game Plus with Oxy.
This is the story of the one. The one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Do you owe back taxes or have unfiled tax returns? The IRS won't quit until they get your money. Here's great news, fresh from those in the know. Major changes have happened at the IRS. If you owe more than $10,000, you may be eligible for a 99% reduction of what you owe. Haven't filed a return for a while? Their happy clients are talking.
The IRS was going to levy my bank account, but Guardian was able to prevent that and fix all my IRS issues. Thanks again, Guardian Tax.
Need relief from crushing tax debt? The IRS now has special programs. Guardian Tax knows all about them. Personal or business, this is the fresh new brick you've been hoping for.
We aren't the company you call when you need a hug because you're scared of the IRS. Guardian Tax is the company that wins when you need it most.
Guardian Tax Service is really great to work with. They really help me out. I'd recommend them highly.
Call now for a free confidential consultation. 800-499-6623. 800-499-6623. 800-499-6623.
Hi, this is Charlie Brennan. This is a great time to schedule those tuck pointing repairs. When you're out in the yard or on your patio, take a look over your brick, your stone, and your mortar joints on your walls, your chimney, your walkways, and your retaining walls. If they need repair, Morelli Tuck Pointing would love to help. It's a good idea to do that home maintenance before leaks are created or rebuilding is necessary. I've used Morelli Tuck Pointing to repair the brick chimneys, the walkways, and the walls of 2 homes here in St. Louis. The Morelli bids are fair, their crews are super polite, and Morelli cleans the job site. Don't take my word for it. Check out their Google reviews. Winner of the BBB Torch Award and the Next Door Neighbor Fave Award. 35 years in business and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Mirelli. Morelli, 314-645-1387 and MorelliTuckPointing.com.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance. And now we're customizing this late-night ad to make you more alert, which could help your driving. And science tells us that pulsing beats faster, stimulating audio like traveling sound, and voices on the higher, so-called brighter end of the audio spectrum like this can encourage focus. Also, a familiar tune can help, so...
Liberty, 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 liberty. Tomorrow night, it's City Soccer on KMOX. First up, Gen C's hosts a special soccer edition of Sports Open Line beginning at 6 from Energizer Park. Then, it's City SC facing Sporting KC. Pre-game 7:05, kick at 7:30. City Soccer on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Soccer conversation is again on the menu as Grain Bar Sports Open Line continues here on KMOX. Katie Shields, head coach of the St. Louis Billikens women's soccer team, is with us now. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's a delight to have you on, and we've been already touching on it, in part because we talked to your counterpart on the men's side, Kevin Kalish, earlier in the show, but we've been looking ahead at these schedules that were released last week for both the men and the women. The men are still a little over a month. You're a little less than a month away from kicking off the regular season. You will do it at home on Wednesday, August the 12th at 7 o'clock against the Crimson Tide of Alabama. And that is fitting because you have 5 power conference opponents on your non-conference schedule. 2 of them, Alabama and then Kansas in September, coming to Herman Stadium. How thrilled are you at or maybe how nervous are you about the caliber of non-conference schedule you were able to put together?
Just excited. I mean, we're known for playing a pretty tough non-conference schedule, and last year we felt we were the first team on the outside looking in at the NCAA tournament, and so we made sure that we gave ourselves the opportunities to get those high-quality wins in the non-conference schedule. and to prepare us for the conference. So excited about what's in front of us. We got work to do, but it's a good place to be.
I recognize, and I'm sure you recognize, how incredible it is that an Atlantic 10 program would be talking about what a disappointing season it might have been to miss the NCAA tournament even as the first team on the outside looking in. So it's important to recognize the context there that relative to a lot of other programs, that is far from a failure. But certainly it is not the kind of success that you have often enjoyed in recent years. Did that change the tenor of the offseason in any way for you?
You do a lot of learning and growth in failure. And again, failure in a context of just what our internal expectations that we've created for ourselves. But I think it definitely, there's some fuel into our returners, a little bit of a underdog chip on their shoulder. I think it was an important probably step in our program to be regrounded, in who we are and how we do what we do. But yeah, I think there's also just the turning of a fresh page. We were incredibly young. We were replacing a lot last year in terms of experience, and I think we gained a lot of experience in the 2025 season and then into the spring. So, you as Josh Schertz tells me, you can't win everything every year, but we're going to try.
Why not try, especially now when you've got 8 starters and 6 more players coming back from last year's team, which still went 14-4-2 and finished second in the A-10 regular season at 8-1-1. We were talking with Kevin Kalish a little bit about the newcomers, especially because he brought in some really high-profile transfers. Are there any kids who weren't on the team last year who you really want folks to know about if they're thinking about why they should be at Herman Stadium on August 12th to watch the Billikens host the Tide?
Yeah, we just welcomed the team back today. We haven't even trained, so it's a little premature. But one newcomer that joined us in December as a grad transfer, named Jeanette Fieldfend. And Jeanette came to us after a really great career at James Madison. She's on the U.S. national futsal team. She's a really technical, exciting player, kind of plays in an attacking center midfield role. And I think she had a great spring, so pretty excited about her as a newcomer. And I know we've got some freshmen that are going to contribute. It's just probably too early to put a name on one of them.
Yeah, it might be unfair to them to shout out the name on the radio before you've even had a training in preseason.
They've touched a ball. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we'll take our steps in. I do have to mention, by the way, and give you basically a carbon copy of a question that I posed to Coach Kalish earlier in the show, because I always beat the drum with any number of programs at St. Louis U about what a great opportunity it is for fans, what a great bang for your buck it is, especially if you have kids. And nowhere is that more true than men's and women's soccer, where an adult season ticket is $60, a kid season ticket, which is 18 and under, $25 for the entire season. So if you were making the pitch as to why folks should spend their entertainment dollars, even if it's not so many entertainment dollars relative to the high cost that similar entertainment might command elsewhere, why folks should spend their time and money getting a Billiken season ticket and coming out to Herman Stadium to watch your team, what would be the pitch?
Yeah, I think number one, we have one of the best teams in college soccer. So if you're a fan of women's soccer, of college soccer, we not only are one of those best teams, top 25 teams, but we bring in, like you mentioned, Alabama, Kansas, the best of the best. And I think we play a really exciting style of soccer, high intensity. We like high scoring games for ourselves, and it's a fast paced type of game. And then the other piece that I think makes us so unique is 13 of our 25 women on the team are from the greater St. Louis area. And so you're watching, the women of St. Louis who have been raised here, developed here, now compete on this stage. And I would also say our women are extraordinary role models for those young girls. They're accessible after games. And I think they do a great job in terms of engaging with the community in that way. So I would say it's as good as it gets for women's sports in St. Louis.
Yeah, and I mentioned it with the men's team. You can also get the fall sports pass that gets you men's soccer, women's soccer, and volleyball. That's 19 soccer games alone before you even get to volleyball. That's 19 home regular season games between men's soccer and women's soccer for $105 for adults and cheaper than that for kids. We're talking to Katie Shields, head coach of the St. Louis Billikens women's soccer team. You mentioned men's basketball coach Josh Schertz earlier, talking about how you can't win everything every single year. One of the things that he's talked about, and he wishes he probably didn't have to talk about it so much, is how hard it is in men's basketball for a school like St. Louis that punches well above its conference weight class to schedule high-quality non-conference games, because a lot of programs feel like it's a lot of downside and not enough upside. You've been able to put together, as we mentioned, a schedule that has 5 power conference teams on it in the non-conference. Obviously, these are 2 very different sports, but do you ever run into some of those issues, too, of big programs that just say, you know what, I don't know if playing the Billikens is in our best interest?
Yeah, I think earlier in my tenure, we had some of that where we hadn't maybe proven ourselves as consistently, but people knew we were getting better and maybe could pick off some teams that, perception wouldn't be great. But now we've established ourselves to a place where some of these schools actually really want to play us because our RPI, which is, the equivalent of the net in basketball for women's soccer, the RPI is so good year in and year out. It's been like an average of 27 the last 8 years. And so, I think we're now an attractive opponent for some of these schools looking for high quality wins. We also go seek out all kinds of different opportunities. And I just think we've established ourselves to a place where teams maybe don't want to always play us, but they know it's probably good for their schedule.
I have one more for you, and this is a little bit beyond your job description, so I don't mean to spring this on you out of nowhere, because your job is to help the St. Louis Billikens win games, and and develop the young ladies who are in your program as players and as people. And one could understand if you're not trying to also be the commissioner of the sport on top of that, because you've got enough on your plate. But I'm thinking about the Men's World Cup that we've just had this summer, the Women's World Cup we're going to have next summer, and then the men's and women's Olympic soccer we're going to have the summer afterwards, some of which is going to be here in St. Louis, and how those all represent opportunities to grow the sport. If you were going to make a change or two to women's soccer, or just give it a push, what is the next step for Division I women's soccer in your mind?
Oh, well, it's actually something we took away, and it would be in the regular season to play overtime in tied games that had a golden goal or a sudden victory. So nothing ends in a tie, or it doesn't have a high likelihood of ending in a tie. I think that would be, a very easy thing to implement again. I don't think the international game will ever go that direction. But I think right now the women's college game, it's exciting, it's fun. It's in a really good place. We just have to continue, to develop and take care of our athletes by stretching out the season as much as we can between games.
Well, Coach, I always really enjoy our conversations. Thanks a lot for taking the time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Katie Shields, head coach of the St. Louis Billikens women's soccer program, joining us here on KMOX. And if you're pining for more soccer, not only will tomorrow night's St. Louis City return from the World Cup break against Sporting Kansas City over at Energizer Park be on our usual sister station Y98, but because the Cardinals won't resume play until Friday, it's going to be simulcast here on KMOX. And Jen Cease, who hosts pre-halftime post-game shows for City, will be sitting in starting at 6 for a special soccer-centric edition of Sports Open Line before we get into City pregame and then the game broadcast with Joey Zanaboni and Dale Schilly. If you missed our conversation with Dale Schilly, looking ahead to that City game against Sporting tomorrow evening, just under 24 hours from kickoff now, and in general, looking ahead at the remainder of this season for St. Louis City, who find themselves just 4 points out of the playoffs with a game in hand as we resume MLS play. You can go back and hear that on the free Odyssey app, the podcast from yesterday's show, the 14th of July, Gray Bar Sports Open Line. It'll be there waiting for you. Our chat with Dale Schilly also touched on the fact that City have not brought in the kind of high-profile players, in particular up front, but other areas of the team as well, that were, if not promised, at least anticipated over this summer transfer window. Still time to do it, but certainly City have not lived up to expectations in the transfer market just yet. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show and producer Kyle Sixta's KMOX tenure. Don't want to miss that. It's after this.
I love being able to tell you about my friends at i3 Broadband. They are the internet service provider in my household. I'm glad they are. I could not imagine having internet with anybody else. If you're interested, go to their website, i3broadband.com/radio, i3broadband.com/radio, and put your address in. If you've done that before, you've put your address in, and they said that service was not available in your neighborhood, try again, try again, try again. They are always adding new neighborhoods through the St. Louis area. Now, this is what makes i3 Broadband amazing. I always say three things. The reliability, it is fantastic. I have never had internet service that is more reliable. None of those micro dropouts that you have with other services. That just does not happen with i3 Broadband. They're awesome. The price is really, really good. I never feel uncomfortable with the price I'm paying. It's going to be a different price depending on what package you get, but you're going to get very good value for your dollar. And then speaking of the packages that you can get, 1 gig, 2 gig, or 8 gig packages, they always mirror their upload and download speed. It makes 1 gig internet actually 1 gig internet. It makes 2 gig internet actually 2 gig internet. Fiber into your home. It is awesome. Check it out for yourself. Head to the website, i3broadband.com/radio. That's i3broadband.com/radio.
Seeing more bees, wasps, or hornets around your home? Carpenter bees can damage wood structures, and wasps and hornets often hide nests inside walls. Don't risk getting stung. Let Rottler Pest Solutions protect your home and family. Call Rottler today or visit rottler.com.
Hi, St. Louis. This is Ben Barnett. I'm a board-certified master arborist, and I've been caring for St. Louis trees for over 25 years. Today, I'm going to help you choose a tree care contractor. Here's how it's done, so pay close attention. First, call everyone you know who has ever done any type of outdoor work, including that cousin that used to sleep on your couch. Leave them all messages and wait around to see if they call back. Here's a hint, they won't. Now, post to all your social media that you are looking for recommendations for a good tree service. Now beware, because there will be hundreds of different recommendations. So you need to carefully go through each one, checking that they have the proper insurance, background checks, and even the slightest idea of what they're doing. Schedule a bunch of appointments, and when nobody shows up, get really frustrated and put the whole project off for another year. Or you could just call Timberline Professional Tree Care, 636-479-7475, or visit us online at stltreecare.com.
The thing that you need in the morning, when you first wake up.
Total Information AM.
I like to be informed with the news and like to know, like in the mornings, I like to know what's going on.
Debbie Monterey, Megan Lynch, Tom Ackerman.
It's always smart to know what's going on.
Your morning news and information.
The national and local news.
Weather.
Sports.
I like the traffic reports.
Total Information AM.
I listen to it in the mornings, so it really gets me going.
Total Information AM. Weekdays 5 to 9 on the voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
For men over 50, staying healthy shouldn't feel complicated. Neovitin Men's 50 Plus is a doctor-formulated daily multivitamin designed to support everyday wellness with just 2 tablets a day. You can subscribe at neovitin.com for convenient monthly delivery right to your door, or find Neovitin Men's 50 Plus at your local Deerbirds or Schnucks. All Neovitin vitamins are manufactured in a GMP-certified facility in the USA and are designed for real, everyday routines. Make nutrition easy with Neovitin Men's 50 Plus.
America is turning 250 this year, and Circa Sports is celebrating by offering all users in Missouri $250. For everyone in Missouri, all you have to do is deposit $250 on your Circa Sports app, then play through that deposit. Once you do, Circa Sports will reward you with $250 right in your account. This is available for everyone in Missouri, new and existing users. Celebrate 250 years and find out more at circasports.com today. Must be 21 or older and in Missouri. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
What do parents think of back to school at Staples, where 24-pack Crayola crayons are just 50 cents?
Staples has folders, notebooks, and pens at great prices.
I'm smiling from ear to ear. It's the most wonderful time.
Mom, I missed the bus of the year.
It's a wonderful time at Staples, where school supplies start at just 25 cents. Staples. That was easy. Visit your local Staples today or shop online and in the app. Ends 9/12. Exclusions apply.
Broadcasting from the Scott Credit Union Studio, 104.1 FM, KMOX. 100 years, one legendary voice. We live KMOX's century of service, classic audio, photos, videos, and more at KMOX100.com.
Nate Gatter, producer Kyle Sixton, back with you to wrap up Gray Bar Sports Open Line this evening. Thanks so much for being with us tonight and for the last 3 nights here on the All-Star break open line coverage with Matt Pauley on vacation. He'll be back on Friday. Tomorrow it'll be all soccer with Gen C starting at 6, leading into 7:30 kickoff between St. Louis City and Sporting Kansas City, and the return of MLS after a 2-month break over at Energizer Park. City trying to keep up their excellent form going in to that World Cup break. Got a comment kind of out of nowhere on our YouTube stream, a strew of them, and I don't know if we can put them up on the screen because we might have to pick around an FCC violation or two to do that. But Ghostface Gaming is telling us about how if the Cardinals really wanted to go for the playoffs, they'd put Dobbins in the rotation, they'd trade for Waka, they'd put Leahy and Libby in the bullpen, and that would get them to the playoffs. I don't hate the general proposition of adding bullpen depth some way or another, and if it's hard to go out and get relievers, you can do it through the back door. I also don't love sending Kyle Leahy to the bullpen, not because I don't think he would be successful, but just because you have to be careful about the message you're sending to players if they're having success, and Kyle Leahy's been having success, and he gets what he would have to view as a demotion in getting moved to the bullpen. If the general point, and I think that is the general point that we're getting from this commenter, that is that Dobbins should be on the team, I think that's a reasonable position, and that he should be getting an opportunity to contribute. I certainly think that's reasonable. The Cardinals have not shown, and it's because they value him enough that they don't want to just be throwing him in the bullpen. I think there's no question he would be a better bullpen option than some of the guys that they have, and you could maybe make the argument that they could put him in the rotation and shuffle somebody out there, and they would get better. But they do want to give, it is still a runway season, and you don't want to take guys out of what you view as their long-term roles, even if it means he's spending a little bit more time at Memphis. Where I think it's unfair is that in one of the other comments he says, if they did this, they'd get a wild card postseason berth, but they don't want it. No October Cardinals baseball. I don't think it's a question of wanting it. They obviously want it. Even if you're a cynic and you think all the Cardinals care about is making money and not spending money, they would love to get in the playoffs and get a little share of that TV revenue, maybe of that gate revenue. If they could get any home games out of it, they would love that. So everybody from top to bottom would love to be in the playoffs. It's a question of how much are you willing to give up in order to do that with the organization situated where it is right now. We're going to have to pause that conversation there because we only got 2 minutes left of Kyle Sixta's KMOX tenure. And Kyle's been with us for a little over 3 years, close to 3.5 years now, actually. I have worked a lot with him because when Jen Cease and I were hosting the City Soccer Report in its early days in the first season of St. Louis City, Kyle was our primary producer. Kyle has been, for most of his time at KMOX, the primary game producer for St. Louis City. Last year was the primary, if not exclusive, booth assistant for the St. Louis Cardinals, and assisting John Rooney, Ricky Horton, and all the radio network folks over there at Busch Stadium. He has gotten everything and more that you could want out of his opportunity here, and he will return to the difficult existence that he knows so well of being a Cardinals fan in Chicagoland. His life growing up, and now the life to which he returns. And Kyle, I will add myself to many other people on air and off air in this studio when we've been away who have congratulated you and thanked you for your tenure here. You are very much appreciated, and we look forward to what's to come for you. Do you have any parting words for our KMOX audience in St. Louis?
I don't have anything crazy to say. I just wanted to say thank you and everyone who's made the last week here, my entire time, just so special. So all the kind words from you and everyone's who's come on air and off air, like you said, and said something incredibly nice to me. I just appreciate it a ton, and I appreciate everything that I've learned and all the good times here at KMOX.
And look, it's, to me, I know I feel this. I think I speak for Kyle and a lot of other people in this building when I say this. It is an honor to be part of this institution. There's a banner behind me, a banner behind Kyle that says KMOX 100 years, the voice of St. Louis, and that is not something that we take lightly. Obviously, we have to evolve like everybody else. Some of you are watching us on streams across all number of social media platforms, and that's part of it. But preserving the history matters too. KMOX means something to this city, means something to this region, it means something to this country and to this entire industry. And that is important to me, and it's important to Kyle Sixta, who has contributed greatly. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Onyx, I keep having stomach issues. Please make